Ooh, it worked. We are here. Welcome, everyone, to the Aftershow podcast.
There we go.
I am your co-host, Sadat the Gamer, and we have a very special guest. You usually see him eating deep dish in your dreams. It is Casual Adventure.
You're in the deep dish. Even though I did just eat pizza.
I think
but it
that's
wasn't
just such
deep
a
dish.
clever line.
we got also if you notice that Jay Shockblast doesn't have 350 toys behind him, it's because he's on a boat.
Coming live from the
Look,
Titanic.
it's the ocean. There you can see water.
PS5
That's
quality water.
Yeah.
right there. He is on a boat, but he is taking a break from his wonderful, extremely expensive vacation out on a yacht in order to grace us with his presence. We appreciate you hanging out, Jay. We got a fun show. We're gonna be talking actor strike. We're going to be reviewing Mid Invasion. And we're going to talk some DC as well. We got the chat. We're live right now on both YouTube and Twitter. Twitter for the first time, so fingers crossed. Everything goes well over there. Don't do anything weird, Elon, and we'll be good to go. What's up, Captay, Eastwood, IDK Bro? You got Spider-Man is here as well. Nice subs Cosmic Wolf. So I guess we should start off with the biggest story in entertainment right now, which is, of course, the Activision deal. I mean that's all anyone's been talking about now. We will talk about that, but the big story is this crazy actor strike. It's pretty much affecting most of entertainment. We've got already projects getting delayed. Some of the Comic-Con panels have been canceled. Some of the actors have pulled out. So it's getting pretty wild. And we're going to break down everything. First thing, basically, the writers and the actors for the union are on strike because they couldn't work out a deal. Surprise, surprise. So as a result, work is shutting down. Now there are some exceptions. Commercials, video games so far, those are good. Broadway is good, but movies, TV shut down. Comic-Con is already being affected because actors can't do press, and they're also encouraging actors, even if you're technically supposed to go, not to go. And so far, we've had a couple of panels get disrupted. Deadpool 3, which people have been super hyped about because of that Wolverine suit set photo that went live, that looks like is being delayed now because they had to shut down production due to the actor strike. So that May 2024, that's going to be pushed back somewhat. The big thing is going to be Spider-Man 2. That panel looks like it's still going, but for now, at least one of the actors that was supposed to be there doesn't look like they're going to be there. So we'll break down first. What do you guys think overall of this actor strike? I had a whole tirade earlier on my main channel where I kind of gave my thoughts about the whole thing. So as a money bag individual, Mr. Shotglass, what is your take on the writer's strike from the perspective of someone with millions of dollars and lots of power?
Yeah, I wish. So it's a terrible situation for everybody all around. Streaming has really, in a lot of ways, damaged the way the industry works, because it's not on the same level as getting syndicated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The dream used to be hitting 100 episodes, hitting syndication, and then you're going to get those residual checks, and you're going to get money coming in your pocket, quarterly, whatever, however often they send those checks out. And now we've seen some of the people that have been involved. Like it's funny, She-Hulk was just mentioned. The writer that did the only good episode of She-Hulk said his total residual check he's received so far for his work on the series was I think it was either $396 or $39.60, something like that. It's insane. And it used to be something like that, that wouldn't be the total. That would be what you would get, I don't know, for a week, because think of The Office. Okay, The Office gets played over and over and over again, and a lot of those actors, you don't see them in a lot of other stuff. You'll see a couple people pop up here and there in commercials lately, but they're not big actors outside of Jim Halpert, and Rainn Wilson, and why am I blanking on Jim's name?
How dare you?
How dare I know he's from Boston. So anyway, but they're good and they're making their money on other projects, but everybody else, those residuals carry them, so it's a pretty rough situation. I mean, but the thing is that you're you want I said this about the Marvel projects because obviously the guy that has become public enemy number one right now is Bob Iger from Disney.
Yeah.
And so he keeps criticizing the Marvel projects aren't making enough money, they're not performing as well, people are obviously getting tired of there's fatigue and whatever. But that's not the issue. The issue is you have an audience that doesn't want to pay for anything anyway. And you're asking them to pay a monthly subscription fee, and you're giving them content that is just people sitting at a table talking. And that's what Secret Invasion is 70% of the time. As just one example, recently. It's war. Casual has no idea what just happened.
I was lost for a second. I'm like, hold on, what's that?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's
we added a soundboard.
Yeah. But what are you supposed to do with that, there's only so much money to go around for there's only so much money to go around for $5 a month, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So piggybacking off,
it's crazy.
Yeah, piggybacking off of Jay, I kind of see the middle ground in all of this where especially after Disney / Marvel went all in on the AI Secret Invasion intro.
Oh God.
Is like
they're big. They're pretty big on AI right now.
Yeah, if you're bold enough to do that, and people gave them a pass for it, which was pretty surprising. But
not Twitter.
I saw mixed reviews on Twitter. I saw mixed reviews, but it's like if you'll do that for a full blown intro, which is a major introduction to your series as a whole, I gotta believe you did that with writing, or you're willing to do that when it comes to writing. And if you can do that, like if you're going to get the same criticism as you would for something like She-Hulk, where you actually pay people to write this stuff, I understand looking at the trade-off of let's just pay $10 for ChatGPT and just make our scripts that way. If it's going to be bad anyway, we might as well get a discount on bad scripts. But looking at it from the perspective of writers and artists looking at what their peers were making 10 and 20 years ago, like you're making like $25,000 residually from royalties on projects, and now you bring home 400, like that's less than what you get at working at Walmart, bro. Like you wrote a whole show that was seen by millions of people, and you got a Walmart check.
Yeah, a lot of actors. Last night later was talking about like they used to be able to just pay rent even when she was a struggling actor off residuals from a commercial, and now LA, and a lot of them live in LA. It's a lot more expensive, and their money is getting fewer and fewer, and it's actually worse in terms of technology. There was actually a proposal reportedly from one of the studios where they wanted to pay the actors for one day of work.
Yeah, I saw
scan their faces with AI, and then use them in perpetuity for no additional money, just their likeness. That was literally a Black Mirror episode in the new season.
that is one of the wildest proposals I've ever heard in my life. Like the fact that you actually slid that across the table as an offer is crazy.
Yeah, the fact that you literally watched that episode of Black Mirror was like, yeah, let's do that. That's the one. let's make that a reality. Like what?
And it's like
I don't think it's even a big deal to do that. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in on you.
You good.
I don't even think that would be a big deal as long as you're paying them something every time you use their likeness, and they're agreeing to it, like, hey, we could use you a lot, and this is the fee that you would get to not even have to be there, for us to like basically use you in the background every so often. If you agree to it, we'll pay you every time. But no, they had to go like the cheapest route possible.
Yeah, nothing. You get 1 day. You get 1 day of you basically get paid to scan your face, and then that's it.
They made on one of my offers a small one-time fee.
Literally a small one-time fee. Get out. Get the fuck out.
A lifetime of servitude. Hey.
Several lifetimes. It's forever in perpetuity. It will outlive them. When they're dead, they'll be able to keep them going. Like they'll be able to have Mark Hamill in Star Wars movies forever if they had their way with it.
Yeah, it's like I said, looking at using stuff like She-Hulk, the writing you saw on that show, or you can go as far as Secret Invasion currently. It's like it's hard to argue with content like that you deserve like top dollar, or you should be paid thousands upon thousands of dollars. But if that's what the market is demanding, like if that's the market standard, it's not about quality. It's about just that's the going rate. And it seems like the top brass of Hollywood are trying to circumvent that, and like, hey, we really don't need to be paying all this money out, especially in residuals for low quality work, essentially. And understandably so, the people being affected by that the most are going to be the loudest about it. I've seen some interesting takes from people on the outside, mostly people like, oh well, this is millionaires arguing with millionaires, so it ultimately doesn't matter. But it's like, bro, if you could pay, like you could support your family off of your writing ability, and you went from looking at thousands to hundreds in terms of compensation, it's like, yeah, who wouldn't make a fuss about that?
And these labor disputes are never between just millionaires and millionaires or billionaires. In the case of a lot of studios, like a lot of these artists are not anywhere near that.
Like a lot of these people are just getting started or trying to work their way up, but it's like you were able to at least live off of that a little bit back in the day, entry level writing. But it's like now even some of the best writers are struggling. Like those rates are dropping off immensely, and streaming has changed the name of the game essentially. And it's like it's a tough situation. Hopefully they can find a middle ground, but it's like honestly, I hope the strike isn't like just unending, but they kind of do need to take a break from what they cranking out in Hollywood, especially over at Disney and DC. Is like pause, take this time to rethink your strategy and figure out what it is you're doing, because neither one of you have been doing a really good job of anything in the past few years. And it's like, what can we do better going forward? Because money is getting tight, obviously. And something you can't keep doing the same things.
My enemies call me Namor.
100% agree, Uncle Casual, because this is pretty much what I was talking about earlier. It's like you can see the argument from both sides, but the problem is that we know the studios are coming from a perspective of they just want the most money while paying the least. Like it's not about, oh yes, technically they're losing money on these projects. Yeah, a lot of people are complaining about the quality of the writing. Disney it's been a bloodbath for Disney. Like they've lost literally billions of dollars off Disney Plus. They've been hemorrhaging subscribers. Their movies have been flopping. Warner's having the same issue, but
they're talking about selling off ABC and ESPN.
But at the end of the day, they hired the people to do the things. Like, I understand how you're going to sit at the negotiation table and say, yeah, I mean, all these projects aren't making money, so sucks for you. But like, you hired the people who are responsible for the projects not making money, especially when fans were telling you, hey, we don't like this, don't do that, and you did it anyway. And now you're trying to punish the artist that you hired, that you gave directions to, that you empowered to do all this stuff. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. Take some responsibility.
Yeah, that's what makes it funny that they're moving away from low quality writers towards AI, which is going to be probably infinitely worse.
I mean,
and it's like,
to be fair, so far visually, yeah, the intro to Secret Invasion, horrific, but as someone who has tested ChatGPT's writing ability, the latest one can confirm definitely can produce better quality scripts than most of what I've seen on Disney Plus. if you know the right prompts.
That's the kicker. If you know the right prompts. So if you just type in woke Hollywood nonsense, that's what you're gonna get.
True. But if you do know what you're doing, you can get some quality stuff. I've fooled friends by showing them some stuff from ChatGPT and say, hey, what do you think of this? And they're like, oh man, that's so good. What is that from? I was like, oh, that's from AI. So the technology is there right now. So that's why I think this is going to kind of end in a bloodbath one way or another. Like either this is going to drag on and it's going to, cause a lot of issues, but ultimately they're going to settle on a bad deal, or they're going to quickly realize they have zero leverage and they're going to take a horrible deal. I don't see how the graders are going to come out on top on this one.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay Shockblast, he's firmly
I'll be honest,
in the
I
corner
kind
of
of
the
trust
studio.
ChatGPT.
You kind of trust.
Let's be fair though. I kind of trust ChatGPT at this point to write a better script than some of these Hollywood writers. Like, at least they would study the source material and pump out a script based on it.
Technically true.
Like I said, I can agree. Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, your face is lagging a little bit.
Yeah, you froze for a second, but I think you good.
Am I delayed, or is there something?
He actually might be delayed.
Sorry.
He's literally on
Wi-Fi on a boat.
He's literally on a boat right now. So we're
middle of the ocean.
we're gonna do our best. But
yeah,
Jay's right. There's definitely AI isn't going away. Like Netflix already created a AI anime completely AI generated, and it was terrible, but it's not always going to be terrible. and just that they were bold enough to do that so early means that that's exactly the direction they're trying to take this. They ideally they want to have a situation where they don't have to pay any actors. They could just generate the likeness with AI. They don't have to pay any writers. They could just have the AI generate all the scripts. Don't even need camera people. You do the text to video. You type in the scene. You do everything. Ideally they want to automate this entire process. They would cut out every creative if they could get away with it. So that's going to be I think that's really going to be key. Like obviously they want to secure those residuals, but I mean, you can't really get residuals off money that doesn't exist. So I think they should really try to hammer in some protections against AI, because I think that's going to be the big thing. Like at the end of the day, they're not going to, if there's no money to give them because they're literally hemorrhaging money from these failed projects, the residual thing is they're just not going to get anywhere. But if they can at the very least hold off on the technology stuff and maybe ideally get some accountability with Hollywood so that they're not going over budget, they're not doing all these ridiculous reshoots, then maybe the creatives can get something going. But it's going to be brutal.
I'll tell you what. I can't wait for Bob Iger to blame the Marvel, what is it, fatigue on Echo bombing.
Superhero fatigue. Like that's such a
on when Echo bombs. It's fatigue. Obviously going to be superhero fatigue because they chose freaking Echo.
Even though that same fatigue magically went away when Guardians of the Galaxy 3 came out and Across the Spider-Verse came out. It's like a switch.
You get a good filmmaker with good writers.
Selective fatigue.
Yeah, when you watch Ant-Man and Shazam too, you definitely feel the fatigue.
I definitely felt a little tired when I was watching Ant-Man 3 on my pirate ship. I definitely took a couple breaks and took a nap in the cabin before I finished it.
Yeah. But that's the thing. That's my whole point, though, about it is like you're expecting people to spend the highest ticket prices we've ever had to pay for a movie, and you're expecting people to pay these monthly subscription services when they've already proven over the last 2 decades they don't want to pay for shit. Okay, they want to ride the pirate ship, and like you're trying to convince them to like not do that, and for the most part, when it's quality stuff, people will do just that. They'll pay for it. Yeah. But like when you keep pumping out the wrong thing, you keep changing the characters from what we know and love, like that's going to happen. Like people are going to get tired of it.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of cutting corners when it comes to production quality in terms of writing, like just the type of people you're going after as writers. So, we don't want anybody who's familiar with the material. I think that's a bad precedent to set with comic books specifically, because your fan base is built of some of the most passionate people of that material, and they're just looking for a live action representation of that medium. And you're like, oh, we're going to give you something completely different that doesn't even reflect what you're hoping for. And somehow we hope you're okay with that.
And not even that. It's like there's a reason that material resonate with so many people. Like if you're gonna change the material, you're supposed to elevate it and make it better for that specific medium. Like Iron Man was great because it paid respect to the source material, but it also elevated it by making Tony Stark a much better character because of Robert Downey Jr. and the writing and their take on that. That was like the perfect example of how the blend the two worlds, respect the source material and make changes for the big screen to not only reflect the difference between the comics and the live action, but just to make it better, instead of just being like, oh well, we're not going to look at it at all because we don't need that. We know what we're doing over here. It's like, no, you don't.
Yeah, it's like it's so weird, and then to turn around and criticize, the show itself, like you didn't contribute to this finished product being, pretty much half-assed. It's like, that's crazy. But it also shows we don't want to take accountability for our bad choices to secure our, he just got a promotion or a raise or whatever. So it's like Bob Iger is chilling at the top while bad decisions are being made all around.
Completely out of touch.
Just passing the blame, like, hey, let everybody else catch the heat for that. Yeah. But it's like, like something like Secret Invasion should have been like an event, essentially. That should have driven subscriptions immensely, because it should have been like an event, which I feel like WandaVision was. WandaVision, I believe, brought in a ton of subscribers. You just can't land these shows, and it's like at this point it just feels like you don't even try from the get-go. It's like the whole show just feels like a flat line, series after series after series. Like She-Hulk drove a lot of controversial takes and input and everything week to week. So it's like at least it had that going for it, but it's not a good show. It's not something people are signing up to watch over and over again or revisit, or hey, you should check this out. People are hate watching it and criticizing it and using that for clicks. And it's like what are you doing? Like, what is the vision over there? Because right now it's terrible. Like, I was laughing, during the Secret Invasion, I was at like episode 3 when they're alluding to the Earth's heroes doing something. It's like, those people aren't showing up in this, bro. Like, nobody's showing up in this.
We know you ain't got the budget for that.
It's like, hey, let's do Captain America Winter Soldier, but here's $10. And it's like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah, and also we directly hate the main character, so we're gonna emphasize that. That in every episode.
Well, here's the crazy thing too, is that like a lot of these shows are just so dialogue driven, and like those are those cutting corners that we're seeing, where you're just gonna have Nick Fury and Rhodey sit in a room and talk about it for 10 minutes, and it's like, okay, they're good actors. But yeah, you're gonna just have them sit there and talk all along, and it's like, that's not what we're looking for, and that's not where that's not what has made these successful. And it's great that you could do that and make some shows, but you have to make them interesting beyond just being 75% dialogue driven. And on another point, though, we're actually, we talk about like the source material and stuff like that. And today it was actually announced, I don't think I've ever seen this happen. Marvel announced the return of Miss Marvel, and she's coming back with the X-Men. And one of the writers, the co-writers of the series, is Vellani, like the literal Miss Marvel actor from the show.
Really?
I don't think we've ever seen like one of the actors like write for the character.
I mean, if anyone was going to do it, it would be Iman. Like, she's literally.
Am I breaking up? Is this not working?
No, you're good.
Yeah, Iman Vellani. If any actor was going to do it, it definitely makes sense. Like, she is Miss Marvel. She genuinely cares about the source material and Marvel and superhero stuff in general. She's always geeking out. So I'm all about that. I figured when they announced she was dead, that wasn't going to last very long, as these things tend not to at Marvel. Like, that's why when I see a new storyline about this character died, I'm like, oh, okay, well, how many months they're going to string this one along before they bring him back?
I just, I can't get invested in comic book storylines at this point.
Same.
It's just chaos and nonsense.
Only
I
read
think what's
manga.
happening is there's a delay. So like when I say something, you get it after. Yeah.
The best Wi-Fi money could buy in the middle of the ocean.
Hey, I mean, you still live.
I mean, I may have to drop out just for the betterment of the show. You know what I mean?
You're doing all right, Jay. You're doing all right, Jay. But yeah, I think the bigger issue is that they need to
up to you guys.
You're fine. We can focus on. They need to focus on the management aspect, because the thing with the Marvel specifically is that they, and this was I think one of the contributing factors to Victoria Alonso getting fired. They wasted so much money on reshoots, and the VFX abuse for the VFX artists, a lot of that came down to mismanagement. Like, you should know by now how the production process works. You're supposed to have a script, go over the script, green light it, start developing based on the script, and everything should work somewhat cohesively. But instead, they're just like, oh, we're just going to completely change everything and keep having the VFX artists go back and forth. And no, we filmed that. Oh, we're not going to do that. Well, now we're going to reshoot. Like, if you have people who are actually managing the production that know what they're doing, a lot of these problems wouldn't happen. Like, you'd have the right directors, you'd have the right writers. You wouldn't be needlessly micromanaging them, and you wouldn't be wasting tens of hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases on the reshoots. It's ridiculous. A lot of that is just self-inflicted on their part.
Yeah, it's just like I said, I don't know what's going on with these major studios and the production side of things. A lot of corners being cut, and it's like we can't. I'm not even going to tie it to Avengers, but I was about to say it's
why not
to Marvel's Avengers. Like, we just can't identify the most obvious problems in the world, and we keep blaming it on other things and trying to fix other things. It's like, bro, it's so obvious. Like, look at your past, look at your prior projects that did successful. So WandaVision, Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier all started off strong, ramped up as they went, and then kind of teetered off towards the last few episodes because you did more setup than you could possibly pay off in a couple of episodes. And it's like, but at least you had our attention for a little bit. At least you had some engagement and something to look forward to week to week. And then it's like, from there is just what else do we got? And it's like, Moon Knight, in my opinion, had like one good episode.
Just one.
Hawkeye.
I thought it had a couple.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's not a terrible show, anything like that. But it's like, bro, this is a Disney Marvel show. Like, you can like something.
It's kind of messing up what my takes on the Marvel stuff, because it's like, after watching Secret Invasion, it's making me reevaluate some of the other Disney Plus stuff, because I'm like, I mean, I thought these were bad, but holy, this is bad.
It's like, I feel like our opinions of those shows, like, is not strong enough to be popular either way. So it's like, I don't love this stuff. I'm not shilling for this stuff, but I don't hate it. I'm not like, oh, this is woke nonsense, or go woke, go broke, or anything like that. So it's like, my opinion is just like, this just isn't good content you're putting out.
It's not.
And that's not exciting, but that's just honestly how I feel about it.
And at the very least, with some of the other stuff, like, you could at least generate controversy, because you're kind of baiting the culture war. There's nothing even controversial about Secret Invasion. It's just sucks. It's just boring.
Yeah, bro. It's like, how did WandaVision have better mystery and mystique about what's going on, or who did what, or who, you get what I'm saying, than Secret Invasion, when that's literally the point of the show? Like, that's your biggest gimmick, and you've been the worst at executing that out of all these shows.
The biggest twist we knew in like episode 1.
Yeah. It's just disappointing. It's like, maybe my standards for this stuff is a little too high, because I've seen people say they've been enjoying it. They were blown away by the twist and stuff like that. And it's like, more power to you. But honestly, I'm like, the biggest response I've had to anything in any of those episodes was just laughing at Rhodey when him and Nick Fury was talking for the second time. And he was, Nick Fury was like, yeah, so I decided to drop by. And he was like, no, you broke in. you broke into my room. It's like, that was literally the funniest thing I've seen, man. But
I laugh every time he calls him brother. Brother.
I don't know who did the writing for those scenes, but it's like, that's the reason people getting $400 checks out. That kind of writing is the reason. But it's like,
you didn't appreciate Nick Fury talking about fried chicken and deviled eggs on the tray.
Bro, it's like he went from Nick Fury to Shaft. It's like somebody told him just do Shaft or something, because it's like, bro, what version of Nick Fury is this?
Shaft had charisma. Like I remember the Samuel L. Jackson Shaft movie. Shaft was cool. he was
like a bad impression of that though.
He was a bad mother. Shut your mouth. I very much remember. This Nick Fury, this is not Shaft. This is not Nick Fury. This is Samuel L. Jackson, 70-year-old man, broken down old. Like, the amount of hate they have for Samuel L. Jackson is crazy. Like, me and Jay have been talking about it, but the fact that they just took one episode just to say, hey, like, it was bad enough that they retconned his eye patch story to just be, oh, he got scratched by a cat. Like, okay, that's annoying, but at least we thought, okay, well, he's still Nick Fury. But to find out that, oh no, every single accomplishment he's ever had is because of the scroll, and he's basically just a glorified desk clerk. Like, Nick Fury really is basically useless. Like, come on, like, they flat out came out and said it. If the scroll hadn't landed on Earth in the 90s, Nick Fury would just be wasting away at a desk, not doing anything with his life. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like that's Marvel.
And then the new episode, we might as well get into the new episode too, because this was a perfect example of the lack of attention to detail, and why I genuinely am shocked and just confused more so when people are saying they're enjoying it, they're writing so good. Like, what are you watching? Are we watching the same show? Are you watching the animated Secret Invasion? Like, are we watching the same show? Like, the big twist at the end of last week's was that Daenerys got shot, and oh no, she's dead. But the big surprise is that, oh no, actually she's alive because she made herself a super scroll. But I could tell what happened. It was either a reshoot, which I think it was, or either way, it was bad writing, editing. But I think it was originally because of a reshoot. I think they originally killed her off, and then they came in for reshoots and was like, okay, we actually want to bring her back, so let's just tie it up together, because the beginning of this episode doesn't match the end of last episode, and it doesn't make sense on I'll break it down exactly, because there's multiple ways they messed up this scene. So first off, in the last episode, we saw all of her actions were accounted for. She got the call from her father, said we need the code. She goes to the guards, she distracts them, uses a gun, takes them out, goes in, activates the code to break in, goes through the rack of humans that the scrolls are keeping, finds the general, goes through his memories, because remember, they're on a clock, so she has very limited time here. They're on a timer. She finds the memory, calls him back, tells him what the memory is. He tells her to get out of there. She immediately leaves, gets on her motorcycle, boom, takes off in the woods, goes get shot. Now, in the retcon new episode, apparently at some point during that limited time, she actually, after doing all of that, she also found a scientist who knew how to make Super Scrolls, went through her memories, figured it out, put herself in the chamber, made herself a Super Scroll, then left. Except, not only did she not do that, but why was that lady there? There was no reason for that lady to be there. Either she was a scroll, in which case, why would they have a scroll there? That room is for extracting memories from humans. Or if it was a human who's experimenting on Super Skulls, why would they lock her up? Like they should be working together. Like there was no reason for her to be in the room, but they needed her to get the extremist to become the Super Skrull so that they could make her immortal. So they just had to come up with a reason for someone who just so happened to have all the technology and knowledge to be in that room. And then they just added on, oh yeah, even though it doesn't make sense time-wise, at some point she happened to find this lady who had all the magic info to be a Super Skrull, and she turned herself into a Super Skrull. That's why she was able to survive the shot and be immortal. It's complete. It's just lack of attention to detail.
I was about to say, like, you spent more time thinking and questioning that one scene than I believe anybody spent on anything in the show in total. It's like it's laughably bad, bro. Like, as soon as that episode started and I saw them, first of all, I didn't care that she got shot. No one in this show who was getting shot or killed have I cared. Like, I just genuinely just it happened, all right, and we just pushed forward. But it's like I just don't care. And it's like when you see her getting up off the ground at the start of episode 4, it's like, of course. When they show you in the trailers that she's going to be around for later scenes in the show, and it's like, that's whoops. You get what I'm saying? It's like
I didn't even watch the trailers. I was just like, yeah, I feel nothing here.
I was like, it's like stuff like that takes away the steam out of your whatever you do in those shows, because we know Nick Fury is going to be fine because he's going to be in the Marvels later this year. So there are no stakes for Nick Fury. Like there's nothing you're going to do with his character in the show that's going to be surprising or going to have these long-standing ramifications beyond this show, because he's going to be clowning with Ms. Marvel in a couple months.
Well, to be fair, they are extremely vague and contradictory about the timeline. So we've looked it up before, and there is actually no definitive answer on whether or not Secret Invasion takes place before or after the events of the Marvels, where they refuse to give like actual clarity. It's kind of vague. Like there's evidence that it does take place after, but it also could take place before, because it's weird. Like we're just going by off the Marvel's trailer. Yeah, Nick Fury looks, like he doesn't look old and beaten down and decrepit, but that could also just be him shaving and just call it a day. And the space station, we don't know if it was like the current space station or if it's like it's very unclear exactly how any of this is connected, but I think they're being intentionally vague about it.
Yeah, it's just like I'm really hoping that they can manage to wow in some capacity in these last 2 episodes, because honestly the first 4 episodes just I've been hearing a lot of praise for Gravik as a villain, and it's like
he's literally the worst villain they've ever had.
I wouldn't even call him the worst, but it's like
he's terrible.
I get your motivation. I understand why you're doing what you're doing, but it's like that's about it. It's like you're pretty straightforward. Like you don't have, your mission isn't as compelling as something from similar to Killmonger. And it's like, you're just not that compelling of a villain. Like you're not even hiding your hand. We literally watch every move you're about to make be discussed thoroughly on screen. So it's like you're not even having the audience guessing about what's going on. because we have a whole seminar about what Gravik is going to do next. And we're in the prep meetings with him.
And his performances, like I remember seeing this actor before. I remember him being decent. I don't know why he's so bad at acting in the show, because I remember him being good, but he's like either overacting or underacting in every scene, and it's really weird to watch. And it's not like they gave him a lot to work with, because the problem is they painted this show as they actually said this, there are no bad guys, it's all shades of gray. And it's like, yeah, on the one hand you have Nick Fury who's trying to save the world. On the other hand, you have a dude that wants to exterminate all humans because Nick Fury broke a promise that he made when he was 10 about finding them a place. Like there's no shit. This is very much bad. There are very much bad guys here. It's not gray. It's black and white. He's evil. They're not.
It's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's no mystery in the show that's supposed to have some of the biggest mysteries in it, some of the biggest reveals. Like, honestly, this was a perfect opportunity for them to kind of fold over a lot of those characters from like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Mm-hmm. They're ground level characters. They work perfectly in this kind of setting. So, bringing Coulson back, Quake, people like that is like, they're literally built for that. These are the only people that Nick Fury can trust, which he only can trust a handful of people given the nature of the situation. And that opens itself or lends itself for major reveals. So you could have had Coulson be the person who kills Maria Hill, and that shocks the audience, because at no point did we suspect that it was Coulson, because nothing was shown to suggest that he's up to dirt or something like that. Like the start of the show, the little conspiracy theorist agent and what's the guy name from the Black Panther movies, damn, I forgot his name.
The CIA agent?
Yeah, what's his name?
I forgot his name.
Everett Ross. That's his name. So it's like, the second I saw this dude, I'm like, didn't he get arrested at the end of or during Wakanda Forever? It's like, so that's not him. So it's like, you right off the bat, I know this is nonsense. And then this person who's super paranoid about, the Skrull, invading and all this stuff. You didn't even check this dude. You just let him in your house and told him all the secrets.
There's not a single scene in this entire show so far where anyone tests to see if they're talking to a Skrull.
Right.
Not a one. Everyone just assumes they're talking to who they're talking to. Not a single moment. There's no secret.
Crazy.
No secret password. No nothing. That is like, oh, I'm talking to you. I'm just going to assume I'm not talking to a Skrull. Like,
bro, like not reading the comics beforehand. I get it. You at the very least should have watched like Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, because Dr. Doom was given a clinic on how to deal with the Skrull. It's like, bro, like how are cartoons doing a much better job than a multi-million-dollar, Disney Plus show? It's crazy. And like I said, for the people who are enjoying it, I genuinely hope you get everything you want and more from this series. The Rhodey revelation, that, like, again, I just don't care. I'm not invested in any of this, and none of this feels like it's affecting anything.
I feel like it was obvious that Rhodey was a Skrull from the first episode, from the very beginning. Anyway, so it's like, that wasn't much of a reveal. Yeah, of course, Rhodey's a Skrull. Why else would he be acting like this?
It's like they make everything super, like you're foreshadowing everything and you're telegraphing everything to the point of being blatantly obvious. And it's like, this is supposed to have mystery. And we're supposed to be guessing.
Yes, and the story inherently makes no sense. Like, their motivation is nonsense. Why would they be so mad about? First of all, why would they not be able to find a planet? Why did Captain Marvel just basically waste 30 years and no one's bringing that up? Why wouldn't they just settle on Earth and like the Asgardians did? Like it, and even then, their plan doesn't make any sense, because they're going to trick the world into thinking that they're fighting each other. Like, everyone should already know they're Skrulls. Like, the British know, the U.S. government knows they're trying to make it seem like Rhodey was literally the only person in the U.S. government that knew about the scroll, and because he's not telling the president, no one else. Like, no, the British. We know the British know. We know the Russians know. There shouldn't be any threat for World War III because everyone should know the scrolls. And if there's like 1 million scroll on the planet, at some point, one of them should have died and turned back to just go. There's zero chance that people don't know. Like this whole thing makes no sense. They've been there since the 90s and they didn't read anyone in. They didn't consider, hey, these are shape-shifting aliens. That could be an issue.
It's like you could have had conflict between Nick Fury and Maria Hill about that. So she wants to, she wants to bring the rest of the team in on this. So she wants to tell, CIA and the president and all these other agencies about the Skrulls' presence on the planet because now they're posing themselves as a threat. And Nick Fury is like, oh, no, let's wait. Let me figure it out. And she's like, no, I want to do it by the book. And again, that's a source of conflict. This show doesn't really have anything. It doesn't have any real conflicting sides or drama. We know where everybody stands. We know who the Skrull are. We know who isn't a Skrull. It's like, when Gravik took on Nick Fury's shape and shot Maria Hill, it's like, that's not a surprise. We know Nick Fury didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Obviously. What is we doing? Like, what did this do for us?
And no, they didn't even bother to come up with any Skrull countermeasures. Like, this is supposed to be Nick Fury, super spy. Like he's 10 steps ahead. He's got moves and backup plans for backup plans and backup plans. He didn't come up with a single contingency plan just in case the Skrull went dark on him. Like, the Guardians of the Galaxy literally are walking around on planets where they're giving out scroll detectors as souvenirs. like you didn't even try to think about just a what if.
It's like you could have had Talos play the long con with him. So it's like, I'm your closest friend, the one person you really let get close to you, and that's what cost you. You get what I'm saying? Like, something, give me something, because it's like, okay, him and Talos, they're cool, I get it, but I gotta believe you're doing something with that. Oh no, he's gonna be sad because Talos died. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, in a world where Iron Man died, like, come on, like, all right, okay, but it's just I just don't understand why they put so little effort and thought into such a big project. It's like this. Miss Marvel, I get it. Echo and She-Hulk, I get it. Secret Invasion was your opportunity to kind of right the ship and regain interest in your projects, and it's like you squandered this grossly, like,
completely.
Bro,
like, Secret Invasion is a huge. People don't realize that aren't familiar with the comics. People don't realize how big a deal Secret Invasion was supposed to be. Like, this should have been like if they were going to not make this a movie, this should have been like a Stranger Things level production. Like, this should have been a huge deal. This should have been set up across multiple different MCU projects, and this show should have been epic. It should have had actual cameos from big heroes, and like, there's so much they could have done with this storyline. And the fact that it's basically Nick Fury being old for 6 episodes is like, what a waste.
It's like, if you're strictly looking at ground level heroes, like, you can put enough budget into a Captain Marvel episode, because it's like the Skrull makeup and stuff. I know you're probably paying a lot of money to have those people, transform and walk around on set with the visual effects and everything. But it's like, it feels like Halloween Town or something. Like, this doesn't feel like a Disney Plus production. This feels like something from Channel 7 or Channel 9 or something like that. And it's like, why did we skip so many basic steps in this production process to make this a hit? And it's like, I'm not surprised. Like I said, the writer strike and the actor strike coming right on the heels of this is like, bro, look at what's going on. It's like
it's a tough sell now.
it's bad on both sides, bro.
It looks rough. I still will lean on the side of the creatives because I know they're really good and talented creatives, and I know that the studios are awful and are worse, and are at the end of the day are the biggest source of the problem. But yeah, it's definitely tough. It's a definitely tough sell when there's so much mediocrity being put out on a consistent basis.
Yeah, they could have introduced Jessica Drew, as a character in any of these prior shows just to set up for Secret Invasion. Like one of the biggest characters in the story doesn't even exist in this universe.
Nope.
And it's like,
nope. It's just Nick Fury, Gravik, Talos, and War Machine.
And it's like when they showed that he's being impersonated by a female Skrull, it's like, okay, so I guess he's gonna be the Jessica Drew of this universe, and it's like that's terrible, bro. If Rhodey turns out to be the Skrull Queen, it's like, bro, go to bed. just go lay down.
that was a crazy jump scare when they had that shower scene. I was like, oh, what is this?
Yeah, it's like I rewatched the episode. The scene with Fury talking to his Skrull wife. It's like, I get you. I'll give you that.
That was probably the best scene out of all the scenes of two people talking to each other in the show so far.
It's like, but it's like even the way they handled the reveal that his wife is a Skrull was clumsy because it's like you're trying to dress it up in a way like having the audience question if Nick Fury even knows his wife is a Skrull. Like, it's Nick Fury. Of course he knows his wife is a Skrull. If he doesn't know his wife is a Skrull, you've ruined his character completely because you don't understand how he works.
To be fair, they clearly don't understand how his character works or like him very much. They literally just told us that every accomplishment he's ever had is because of the Skrull. So it's definitely their version of Nick Fury. It's actually very believable that he could be living with a woman for 20 years and not know she's a Skrull. I believe it.
Yeah, because I just like it's rough watching this, just knowing how far removed these characters are from what you know them to be in the comics. Because I just watch it and I'm like, Nick Fury from the comics would never. Old white man Nick Fury, none of this. He's in a bunker somewhere watching everything with distrust.
Nick Fury from Avengers 1 would never.
It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? He wouldn't come back to Earth on a situation like this. I don't know who I can trust. Everybody's a Skrull unless he has a way to test who's Skrull and who's not Skrull. You're not just gonna walk head first into a chaotic situation like that. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
They for all these decades, while they were not finding a planet for some reason, because Captain Marvel, what has been Captain Marvel doing? But not at no point did he think, you know what, this is a pretty dangerous power that they have. Maybe I should figure out at least a way for us to be able to detect the Skrulls just in case. But not a single incident. Not aliens. You could have had a conversation with actual aliens. You know someone who flies and knows aliens. You're gonna be like, hey, by the way, hey, Captain Marvel, on your travels, did you figure out any, say, countermeasures against Skrull? Do you know anyone? Hey, the Guardians of the Galaxy. Do you know any? Can you ask the Guardians about the Skrull?
In the meantime, you could have gave him an island. We got islands all over the place. Like, here's Skrull Island. Sit here while we figure some stuff out. The Asgardians came right down and set up shop and had no qualms, no problems. So
it's a tourist trap. People go visit Asgard for vacations.
Bro, it's just like, why did this show have to be so bad? It's crazy. And like I said, we got to ride it out at this point. Like, we only got 2 episodes left, so it is what it's going to be. But
two very long episodes, and the crazy thing is that the best stuff Disney Plus has is like so like low key that it's not like it doesn't really get that much attention. Like Werewolf by Night is is probably is the best thing they've ever produced on Disney Plus, and most people don't know what it is. Like they're not recognizable characters to most people. You know, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur actually a pretty good show, but they're like Z-list characters, and so no one's been watching it, and it's like
it doesn't even feel like Nick Fury has heroes he can call in this show. Honestly, like War Machine felt like the one person he probably would and could call, and that's a problem. It's like
his only friend is Talos.
It's like, I know you're not going to bring Spider-Man in this show. That you got to jump through hoops with Sony to get him any appearances. And it's like, Nick Fury has had literally no dialogue or interactions with Doctor Strange. He never talked to the Guardians of the Galaxy. Captain Marvel is never around.
Hulk jumped back into space.
Hawkeye is retired. You get what I'm saying? It's like the fact that you don't even have Hawkeye and Black Widow. Like,
I mean, they could have, but even then, like they have other Disney Plus people. You can't call Hawkeye and Black Widow. Call Yelena and Kate Bishop. Like somebody, get Miss Marvel in here. Like get somebody here.
The fact that Nick Fury hasn't reached out to the Winter Soldier to take advantages of his services is crazy. It's like, bro, what are we doing? He didn't even call Falcon. I forgot Falcon is even a thing, or Captain America, whatever he is right now.
Falcon's there. Shoot, he could have called. Monica Rambeau, like somebody call somebody, because the Skrull is weird. Like the Skrull are supposed to be able to get powers, but also so far they haven't. But now they're just they're basically just extremist soldiers. Like they were supposed to have super strength, but most of the time they don't. Usually when they're fighting humans, but now some of them are just like immortal.
It's funny, like, seeing that scene where Nick Fury and Rhodey were talking, and they're talking like they got all this history. I'm like, have they ever even spoke to each other before?
I don't even like.
I don't think they've even had a scene together before.
I'm trying to remember. The scenes I remember with Rhodey were mostly with Iron Man and the other Avengers.
It's like Nick Fury has more history with Loki than War Machine, but you calling in a favor with this dude.
Every time Fury popped up, it was pretty much just talking to Tony and Natasha and Clint
and Captain America. That's it.
Yeah, Captain America.
He never even talked to Spider-Man. That was Talos. But
yeah,
it's like,
so it's like Fury. When did Fury and Rhodey become brothers? What did that happen?
But speaking of the Skrull, though, the Super Skrull stuff, I feel like that's one aspect of the show where they did think of try to put some creativity in, where you had to figure out a way to create a Super Skrull without actually using the Fantastic Four because they don't exist yet. And it's like I said, the MCU has been a wild, major success overall. But it's like, as a comic book fan, as a fan of these heroes and all of these interactions and possibilities, it's disappointing that so much will never actually be. So Mr. Fantastic will never interact with Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. At least as of right now, Captain America and Doctor Strange never had a conversation.
I mean, Secret Wars makes anything possible. They're just going to have every cameo.
Not when people getting $400 checks and a lifetime of servitude for $10.
I mean, that movie's probably not coming out until like 2030. So by then they'll probably be able to just make the entire thing with an AI, so they won't even need actors at that point.
It'll just be Bob Iger playing with the action figures.
It'll just be Bob Iger's intern just sitting in front of a computer typing in prompts. Just like, make me a scene with with Mr. Fantastic and Tony Stark having a conversation.
What are the powers for the Super Skrull? Is Groot, the Frost Beast, what are those people called from Iron Man?
The Extremis.
Extremis, yeah, and it's one more thing. I forgot what the fourth power was.
Nick Fury's integrity.
Yeah. I was just like, at least you figure something out. You figure out a workaround for that, but it's like it's wasted. It's just a bunch of bland nonsense.
It actually made me almost want to rewatch some of the other stuff because I'm like, at least there was something compelling about the other Disney Plus shows. Like they weren't, they were, a lot of them were bad in some way or another, but at least a lot of them had some redeemable quality, or there was something interesting or something you can like get on. Like as bad as She-Hulk was, like it kept you watching every week just to see what would happen, and occasionally they would hit on something. But here it's just like, when it's not boring, it's just confusing and annoying because it's like, why it's like they don't care.
It's like for every episode they're ramping up, trying to add stakes and build up stakes, but it just doesn't feel like anything matters. At least to me, I just don't care. I don't care who dies in this show. I'm not going to care. Nick Fury can get killed and it'll be, oh well, I don't care. You get what I'm saying? It's like,
we know they're not going to destroy the world because, like, again, you have these high stakes. It's like, oh well, the Skrull are going to destroy the world and destroy it. Well, we know they're not. I mean, they're playing, and the only reason we're even getting this far is because you're trying to ignore the fact that their plan is completely stupid. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's like it's over 1 million Skrull on the planet. It's like you can take over the planet like that, bro. Like you literally can look like anybody and get in anywhere. And by the time somebody suspects it's a problem, you're close enough to kill them. And it's like,
and they're already in the highest points of power. They're already living. They have a home. Why are they still mad? Why are they even still mad about it? Like they can't. Like Graphic even commented on them, like you're drinking their wine, you're wearing their suits. Yeah, because you live here. You have a home.
Right. It's like you literally can be anybody, bro. Like
you literally run the world. You have Skrull in the highest levels of government. You're living in luxury. You can do whatever you want. And why do you care? Why do you want to go? Why do you want your own planet so bad? you got one.
Yeah, it's like the stuff with the show just doesn't make sense in a lot of regards. Like the Talos thing, you literally sat in a train car and heard Nick Fury say specifically they had no intentions of making room for you here or making you really comfortable here. Oh, humans can't get along with each other. We definitely not looking to make room for this. And it's like his daughter asks him what's his plan. Oh, we have to show them our hearts. And they literally just told you, the person you trust the most just told you to your face, we had no intention of giving you anything. It's like, change of plans, maybe? Like, you didn't even consider anything different. You just went right back to square one. Oh, we'll trust Fury. He literally dipped off on you for how long?
I mean, you blame him? I mean, you invade with a million people, and then you got the other half trying to wipe out all humans. Like they're human. Like, first of all, the humans are in the MCU are not at all the way the writers portray them, because they have no problem with the Guardians, Groot, nothing. They're very accepting. They're even accepting of Hulk, and he's destroying towns half the time. Like they're very. This is a very forgiving world.
Yeah,
and
look at Scarlet Witch. She got forgiven.
Like, yeah, she literally held an entire town hostage and tortured them for over a month. And it's like, oh, it's fine. Not only did she get away with it, the guy that tried to stop her got arrested.
It's like, as a Skrull, I would make the argument we're not doing anything worse than your own heroes are doing. Y'all create robots who drop towns on the world and stuff like that. It's like, bro, we just trying to walk around with green ears out. Like, let us live.
They could have been chilling, but no, they want their own planet. So okay, fine. You want your own planet. All right, we'll look for a planet. But I'm starting to see that there's a reason why everyone hates the Skrull and they're being persecuted. They're terrible people. they're awful. Like no, like we were told that the Kree were the bad guys, but are they? at least in this particular conflict, it feels like they were onto something.
Yeah, it's like just make them evil from the jump.
Yes.
So it's like we played the con of being the good mild-mannered aliens in comparison to the aggressive aliens. Oh yeah, easy to trust. Yeah, you can come back to Earth and all of that. This is a nice planet you got here. Oh, we'll find you one just like it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're take your time.
We good.
Take your time. No, instead, because but for some reason they're obsessed with, they can't just have a villain that's just a villain. Now they're like, oh no, there has to be meaning to it. They have to, we can't just have, bad people, we have to, there has to be nuance. We have to have there's shades of gray. But then if you're going to go with shades of gray and nuance, your plot can't be exterminate every human on the planet. that's not nuance or shades of gray. Like there's nuance. There was nuance to Killmonger because to some degree, because even though Killmonger is clearly wrong, his whole thing was, well, Wakanda has forsaken the people that need it the most by hiding from the world and holding all their resources. So we're going to open up Wakanda. We're going to stop hiding and we're going to reach out to oppressed people all over the world. He just took a step or two too far. It was like, also, we're going to be imperialists and put our boots on everyone's neck before they do it to us. But you can see his point, and he was still able to sway T'Challa at least a little bit towards his side by the end, because he was right to a degree. Wakanda, it did really make much sense for Wakanda to have this much wealth, this much technology, and they're literally starving people right on their border, like outside their invisible barrier. Like, yeah, you should use your resources in other parts of Africa and in Compton and in other places to help out. So yeah, Killmonger was right about that. He was just wrong about the imperialism. So yeah, there's nuance in that. There's no nuance in, you promised me something when I was 10, so I'm going to kill everyone on Earth.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like I feel where graphics is coming from. It's just, you're going about it in the dumbest way possible. Like, you're not an effective terrorist. Essentially, it's like, oh, we'll make them war with each other, and then it's like you literally can look like anybody, my man. Like, you don't need to do all of that. You're already in high-ranking government positions. You can push the button yourself. You can do whatever you want with the positions you've taken, and you're going the most complex, nonsensical route possible to get nothing. It's like, bro, like, this planet is not like, look at this planet. Go on Twitter. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not that hard to figure this stuff out, man. Like, bro, I'm not even gonna get into all that, but it's like it's a wild place.
Yeah, they had no reason to. He doesn't even need to exterminate everyone because they've already taken over.
It's like, you on the ground. It's like they don't know you exist. They don't know to look for you. And then a few people who do, they don't even have a testing process. They don't even criticize whoever they're talking to. They don't scrutinize any possibility that you could be a Skrull in disguise.
And they won't
start talking.
And they won't tell anyone. We literally had a scene where Talos walks into a meeting with Gravik, and he's surrounded by Gravik's people. And not only does he assault Gravik multiple times, he straight up tells them, I'm going to blow up your entire plan. I'm going to tell everyone about the Skrull and everything. I don't care if there's any blowback. I'm blowing up your plan. I'm telling everybody, and also keep my daughter's name out your mouth. And they just let him leave. And then he goes and eats breakfast and doesn't tell anybody. He just goes, hangs out with Fury and talks about dogs.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like him and Gaia have had the same conversation like 3 times already. Him and Nick Fury keep having the same conversations. It's like, we are not going anywhere. We're spinning our wheels. Gravik comes in and reminds us, whatever his plan is for the day. and that's an episode, like episode 4 now, and it's like
I can imagine how
like
boring
with the
the next
president,
episode is going to be.
you're trying to assassinate the president, bro. We know when he's landing. We know where he's going to be. Why are we trying to attack his vehicle when you literally can bring a whole team of Skrulls in disguise as Rhodey's, special forces team and just shoot the president as he's coming off the plane? It's that simple, bro.
Rhodey could have did it himself. Whoever that Skrull is playing Rhodey could have killed the president herself at any time.
This is the most ineffective squad of trained killers. That was like, you got the powers of all these different things and characters, and you're still out here trying to be special ops, man. It's like, that's not threatening. That just shows me your budget limitations. You don't want to show what this person can actually do because budget limitations. Because it doesn't make sense for you to be out here trying to be special ops, man.
That's writing limitations too. Because why would you bring an attack helicopter to blow up the convoy when you could just have a Skrull disguise himself as the president's wife, his chief of staff, the special secret service agent, anybody close to him, they could just be like, Rhodey describes himself as the president is basically useless. He doesn't know anything. He can't tie his shoes without me. So why aren't you kill him? Like, why don't you? Don't even effects for that. You just be like, hey, Mr. President, let me show you something.
It's just absolutely crazy, bro. And it's, like I said, it's sad to see, because it's like 10 years ago, this was not a problem that Marvel had at all. And it's like, I feel like someone was more involved with this process than they were given credit for, and that person is no longer involved. And Disney is kind of falling to pieces while Kevin Feige is getting credit for, for things he may not be actually doing.
I've definitely heard that over the years that Kevin Feige actually had a lot of help in those early stages of Marvel, and that everything kind of fell apart. Especially, James Gunn was one of them who, and then when James Gunn stopped, overseeing Phase 4, I guess he was supposed to help with Phase 4, but now we know he ended up moving on to DC. But yeah, it seems like Kevin Feige was kind of like the face of the behind the scenes, but actually was not the brain.
I feel like somebody got Steve Ditko out there.
Something's going on because this ain't it. This is not the Marvel that I know.
Yeah, it's like it's so poorly executed and written, and it just every scene falls flat. The scenes that you're supposed to care about, I just don't care. Like, Talos dying is like, I don't care. I was more focused on how bad the British Army's formation was. The fact that a guy he was like, hey, shoot Talos, and he just went to another car, a complete blind spot. He could have killed anybody in that circle. He could have shot Talos in the head if he wanted to. Nobody is covering that flank at all. It's like, what kind of military formation is that, bro? Like, you that exposed and nobody's guarding that side.
And then Fury's sitting there shooting Gravik, and all the Secret Service agents are completely oblivious. like he's supposed to be protecting the president. He has the president, and he's supposed to be he's literally just standing there in enemy lines, having a Fury just shooting at him. No one's turning around. Like, hey, what? No, everyone's just looking straight ahead. I'm like, bro.
Yeah, man, it's like scene direction, script. All of this is just flat. It's like no impressive action scenes. Nothing of worthwhile has been happening in the show. I feel like I done said that like 36 times in the past half hour.
Unfortunately, I was hoping someone on the editing team would have said something at some point, but unfortunately not. So this is the show we got. I don't think you have to worry about. I'm going to say so far, I am impressed with what I'm seeing from Superman Legacy. The casting at the very least has been 100% spot on. I'm all about it. Obviously, we got to see the script and everything else, but based on what we've heard so far, what we've seen, I'm cautiously optimistic because I've yet to see, because James Gunn hasn't done anything bad. Like, so I I think the worst thing James Gunn has made is like Guardians 2.
I like Guardians too.
And I still enjoy Guardians 2. Like maybe you argue the Suicide Squad. And that was still good. So they nailed the casting. I like David Corn Sweat as Superman. I mean, they basically just got a guy that's 10 years that looks exactly like Henry Cavill, but 10 years younger, and 50 less pounds of muscle. But they can add on to that. Rachel Brosnahan from The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, fantastic in that show. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. She's a fantastic actress, and just if you listen to her in Mrs. Maisel, you definitely hear Lois Lane. Like okay, like you can definitely see where they were going with that. So perfect. I like Anthony Carrigan as Metamorpho. He's fantastic. He's a fantastic actor. He was great in Barry. So just having him on, I'm all about it. And they even bringing a brother in, Mr. Terrific. Shout out! I'm always appreciate bringing in black superheroes. I'm all about it. And we even get the Green Lantern. Nathan Fillion is playing Guy Gardner.
Like on paper, it sounds like a lot for a setup movie, or something that's supposed to be getting things off the ground. Is like stuff like that doesn't have a great track record unless these people are going to have like small roles or small cameos or something.
That's the other thing we don't know. Like how involved are they going to be in the story? Like because there's definitely a way. Like you obviously don't want to Batman v Superman it and just kind of like, oh, we're going to set up a Justice League movie, so let's just cram him in here with surveillance footage and everything. But yeah, like if to me it sounds like the main story is going to be Clark at the Daily Planet with Lois, and Lex Luthor is going to be like the main thing.
Yeah, it's like I feel like James Gunn knows enough about how to ground a story in its characters and make the characters have heart, because that's one of the things all of his movies manages to deliver on, is having a heart aspect. So it's like you're invested in the story, you're invested in at least one of the characters specifically, and what happens to that character or what they're going through in the movie. So it's like, I don't doubt that he'll be able to pull something amazing off with Superman. But at the same time, especially after what just happened with The Flash in theaters, I feel like WB might be grossly underestimating the power of having stuff get boycotted. So many projects have been coming out lately with people taking strong stances against it and vowing not to see it in theaters. So it's like Black Panther Wakanda Forever. You didn't do as well as the original movie because of how you handled T'Challa. So a lot of people who are T'Challa fans were like, I'm not seeing that. I'm not supporting that. That hurts your box office numbers. The Flash, Ezra Miller, labeled as a terrible person, and he's still being promoted in the movie. People are like, we're not having that. And then on top of that, we're not supporting anything that's James Gunn new DCU friendly because of how the Snyderverse characters were handled. And it's like, there's a lot of people who are fans of the Snyderverse. That's a lot of dollars that are right off the bat either stealing your movie with the pirate ship method, or flat out just saying, I'm not paying for that stuff. I'll wait for it to be free on streaming or something.
So I actually disagree. Like boycotts can definitely. Bud Light knows firsthand how powerful boycotts can be, but I don't think that's the issue with these superhero movies. I think the reason the Flash movie flopped is the same reason Shazam 2 flopped. It sucked ass. It's a terrible movie. I think people would have gotten over the whole Ezra Miller situation if the movie was actually good, but it wasn't. It wasn't good, at least good enough to get crowds coming off of word of mouth. Because it was it better than Shazam 2 and Birds of Prey. Sure, but the bar is the floor. So, and the CGI looked like a war crime. It was so bad. So it's like, like, will there be some Snyder cultists who won't see Superman Legacy? Sure, but there's like 10 of them, and the rest are bots. So I don't think
That's a
that.
lot of numbers, man.
I really honestly don't think the Snyder people are going to have really any impact at all on Superman Legacy. I think it's going to come down to if it's
I
good.
think they will probably have a bigger impact than you giving them credit for. Like it's not like in the case of the Hogwarts Legacy where that franchise has so many fans, regardless. Even if 1 million people chose to boycott it, you got 2 million more who are all about that game. So it's like it was going to be a success no matter what because the fan base is that massive. And even if you divide them, split down the middle, you're still going to end up with millions of people buying your game.
Sure.
Where with the DC universe, it's like people don't know what the hell they expect from this. You can't even effectively communicate what is going on in your universe as of right now. The Flash movie didn't do any of the things it was hyped up to do in terms of resetting a universe or setting up a new universe. You just did cameos and weird cameos and then ended with a confusing cameo because it's like, is George Clooney about to come back and take over as Batman? Is that what we're setting up for? Is that what we're getting hyped for?
George Clooney, Brave and the Bold.
It's like, bro, like, did you see Batman and Robin? I don't think that was the way to go. Like, people were really hyped for a Ben Affleck Batman movie, and it's like now it seems like he's out. It's like, again, that's another hit to the Snyderverse fan base. So it's like we don't have our Batman, we don't have our Superman. Wonder Woman might be in the trash. What's going on?
True, but also the Snyder cult was never that big because remember, even when Snyder had free reign to do his thing, those movies didn't really make that much money. That's the issue.
Well, that was the rest of us boycotting the movies.
we weren't boycotting. They just weren't that good. That's the problem.
Like I didn't go see Wonder Woman 84 in the theater. I didn't see Birds of Prey.
I saw Man of Steel in the theater. It didn't make. I liked it. Didn't make the money that they were hoping it would make. The first Wonder Woman was a hit, and then they did Batman v Superman. It just was all downhill. It was all downhill from there.
Yeah, it's like honestly, I feel like criticism shot those movies in the foot before they can really get going, and rightfully so. It's like those they're not really good movies. If it's a great story, if it's a really good grounded story with characters and events that people can get invested in and care about, your movie's going to do well no matter what.
So interesting. There's obviously a lot we still don't know about how they're setting up the Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters, but apart from we know that they're going to have a Batman that has already a son. And we don't know how else they're going to adapt that. We just know we just know it's going to be Batman, and he's going to have a son, Damian. Doesn't mean there's going to be a full Bat family. We don't know exactly what changes they're going to make, but we do know that James Gunn is setting up a Justice League of some kind. Just looking at the projects they have announced and the casting for the Superman Legacy, we've got pretty much most of Justice League International already. For his DCU, you got Blue Beetle, you got Mr. Terrific, you got Guy Gardner, they got Booster Gold coming. So that's going to be one Justice League team. We know eventually they're going to do a Wonder Woman, they're going to do a Flash. They have Batman, so they're going to slowly build it up. But it sounds like they're going to have these members of the Justice League, Hawk Girl, Mr. Terrific, Guy Gardner, they're going to be part of it. And then the Authority are going to pop in. They're going to have a role. And then they're going to bring in Wonder Woman at some point, but you're going to have Batman, and then you're going to have 2 more Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan and John Stewart, and they could. But it sounds like he's definitely taking his time with an actual Justice League movie, unlike with what we got with the last regime. He understands the value of stretching things out. So with what we know so far of Chapter 1, no Justice League movies so far. They're just going to set up these different projects. So Superman Legacy is going to plant the seeds for future Justice League teams. Then we're going to have Brave and the Bold. We got the whole Amanda Waller situation over with Creature Commandos and Peacemaker. That whole ground level thing going there. Then we're going to have the Lantern Show and Themyscira. Then they're bringing in Supergirl with Women of Tomorrow and everything
Sound
like
that. A lot of projects that potentially will be buckling down if Superman flops.
Oh, they're out of there if Superman flops. if that movie doesn't make at least $800 million, they out of there.
I mean, it's Superman. I think at the very least 300 million will be the threshold. But it's like, if it's a really good Superman movie,
300 million,
800 million probably should be the goal.
No, 800 million I'm telling you, 800 million is the baseline, because 300 million, that's like Black Adam territory.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, like, I can't see it doing as bad as like, we're barely clearing 100 million.
I feel like based on just looking at the casting alone and how much interest there is, I think it at the very least is going to do as good as Man of Steel. And that was like 700 million.
Yeah, I'm honestly wishing them all the best, because it's like, honestly, Marvel needs competition. Like, it's kind of like NBA 2K is like, looking at what a lack of competition has done to that stuff is like, you need competition out here, because if there's no competition to push innovation and creativity, these companies are always going to cut corners and give you half-ass products where they see fit, because people are accepting it, which, as you see with Secret Invasion, people are accepting it. It's like, this is clearly an inferior product, but people are like, hey, it's great, keep giving us more.
Not even though, because this is one of the most lowest rated things they've ever put out. So it's like people are actively telling you, no, we don't want this. Like it's like that's why Bob Iger's up there telling the writers and actors, there's no money. I mean, superhero fatigue, because
like, I'm gonna be straight up with you. I am like 9 out of 10%. I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna watch Echo, like, at all. I'm not even doing.
Oh, I'm not even. Yeah, I'm not even. Yeah, we're not even reviewing it for the podcast. No, it's not.
Like she was terrible in the little bit of Hawkeye she was in, and it's like, that's what we're giving a show to.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
All right, bro.
I would actually be willing to do Ironheart, and maybe in House of Harkness. I'm not touching Echo. I'll do Ironheart. I'll do House of Harkness. I'm not touching Echo.
whatever everybody says Echo is, like, I'll take your word for it, bro, because I'm not watching that, man.
I'm out on that one.
And they'll turn around and make something like that, like 9 episodes, while giving Secret Invasion 6 really bland episodes. Yeah. It's like, bro, what is going on?
Yeah, I can see that. Like, that I know I can save myself some time. I would not like it. I'm not seeing it. So we could just cross that one off the map. But we definitely do need competition. That's why I always laugh at the console warriors who are, and in my case, it's usually the L-box players who are constantly in all of my comment sections and chats saying something weird. Like I had one the other day that was mad. They were mad. He called me a corporate shill because he was mad that he had an Xbox, and he was like, well, he's like, it's not fair that you have to buy a new PlayStation you know, and he has an Xbox and can't have Spider-Man. I'm like, bro, you're an Xbox player. What are you talking about? Microsoft is literally buying studios so that they can produce more exclusives.
Yeah, that's stuff isn't even worth arguing about. But
it's so nonsense. I want both Sony and Xbox to do well so that we can get good product. That's why I want both Disney and Warner to figure it out, because I like Marvel, I like DC. I like DC more, and I want both of them to have active and healthy cinematic universes, because that would be amazing as a superhero fan. I want great movies and shows, and especially video games from both of them. And when I see this nonsense, it doesn't bring me joy. Like, there are parts of the culture war who, you know, take pleasure in all these flops, and I'm just like, no, I don't want this stuff to be bad. I don't want you know, this to be, all this stuff to be flopping and artists to be losing their livelihoods. I want it to all be thriving and good, and we gotta get back to that. So I'm gonna give James Gunn the benefit of the doubt on this one. I've enjoyed his work so far. I like what I'm seeing so far from Superman Legacy. Unfair or not, and it definitely is unfair, but there's going to be a ton of pressure on that Superman Legacy movie, more than it should be on the merits. But that's the reality of the situation. There's definitely going to be, you know, pushback from the Snyder side, but also because it's like, yeah, Henry Cavill is very popular. You know, it's not just from Snyder cultists. He's just generally a very popular guy, and you did him dirty. So now you're going to have to back it up. It's like, okay, we had our vision. This is what we're going to do. And now all eyes are on you. This is the start. This is the foundation of your new rebooted DC. Like, we're supposed to look past all these flops, you know, Flash, Aquaman 2, Black Adam, you know, I'm assuming Aquaman 2 is going to flop. So, you know, Shazam 2, Blue Beetle. We could just assume all those are going to flop. So we're going to be looking for Superman Legacy to be most likely, unless Aquaman 2 pulls out a miracle or Blue Beetle surprises everyone, they're going to be looking to Superman Legacy as the first DC movie to turn a profit since the Batman.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's when you look at movies like Infinity War and Endgame, everyone was looking forward to that, you know, universally. Everyone was all in on wanting that to succeed and wanting to see that live in theaters. There was no boycotting. There were no controversial casting decisions or anything like that to go against the movie's box office before it even got there. People were trying to get tickets as soon as possible and pack up theaters as many times as possible, just because they were that passionate about that movie. And it's like, you want something like that behind your new Superman movie, and you shot yourself in the foot immediately by alienating your fan base, or a portion of your fan base, by, for no reason, you know, or no good reason, just getting rid of a perfectly good Superman. It's like, he just needed better writing. I feel like Henry Cavill's Superman is I feel the same way about his Superman as I do with Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. You just need better writing, bro. Like, just give him a good script and a good movie, and he could do just fine. But you didn't want to give him that, for whatever reason. I don't know why he hates him, but
yeah,
clearly hate him.
He very, very clearly, because that was the other issue, like the lack of transparency. Like, it's like, oh well, I had nothing to do with this. You know, it's nothing personal. Also, I definitely did personally destroy his project that was in development, and I had no intention of all along, and I was pretending. But yeah, like, it was the wishy-washiness, you know, that was the issue.
The conversation in Secret Invasion between Rhodey and Nick Fury was a direct copy of James Gunn conversation with Henry Cavill.
I'm going in a new direction, brother.
And it's like, you hate to see it, but it's like, I'm telling you, like, I feel like they really need to take an analytical look at the numbers on that and see how much of a hit they're taking on stuff like that up front, right out of the gate. It's like this is hurting sales, and then by it, you couple that with bad word of mouth, and it's like, your projects never really have a chance.
I will say, Henry Cavill definitely has a lot more name recognition than David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan, but they're willing to roll the dice. And like, I thought they would go younger, because it's weird that the assumption was they just were going to go young for the rebooted universe. But not only does David Corenswet look like Henry Cavill, but he's already 29, and Rachel Brosnahan is 32.
They added, they're younger in DC years, so you gotta go by DC years.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, because the argument was like, well, Henry Cavill's 39, but it's like, okay, but David Corenswet's 29. It's about to be 30, so it's just like, it's like, and it has much less name recognition. Like, are we going to act like Robert Downey Jr. didn't just carry a whole cinematic universe starting at 40? Like,
look at what James Gunn did with the Guardians, where you gave them a pretty noble send off. We don't know where these characters are going to end up in the future. We don't know how long it's going to be before we see any of them again. But as a conclusion to their original trilogy, we left things in a good spot. So we're optimistic about the future. There's nobody died. You didn't do anything mean-spirited to any other characters. You didn't bastardize any of your actors or anything like that. It's like, you could have did that in that Flash movie. Instead of giving us terrible CGI Superman cameos, you could have actually gave us Henry Cavill in a meaningful scene, either helping Barry, like in that initial, event before he goes back in time. That could have been a full-on Justice League event, and his friends are there trying to just encourage him. He's trying to hang out with Batman and stuff like that. That could have been a bigger scene. And then when you get to the end of the movie, we have this new cast of the Justice League going forward, and it's like, that's fine, but you had one last hurrah with the original Justice League cast from the Snyderverse, and there you go. Now you make your announcements. Yeah, Snyderverse is no longer a thing. We appreciate what he did, but we're going in a different direction. But at least fans got to see them one last time, all in one movie, instead of Aquaman showing up drunk in a end credit scene for no reason, and Wonder Woman and Batman having awkward scenes. What are we doing?
He intentionally had this Henry Cavill scenes cut too. That was the other thing. So it was like, it was so obvious that this was always personal. You kept Gal Gadot's and Jason Momoa's cameos, but when it came to Henry Cavill's, well, we didn't want to give them expectations. Oh, really? So you were fine with the post-credit scene with Jason Momoa Aquaman when people were thinking he's going to be Lobo, but you couldn't do the same thing for Henry. No, you just hate Henry Cavill, and it's so crazy that he just won't admit it. That like he jumped down that content creator's neck for reporting on the fact that he clearly just personally doesn't like Henry Cavill and didn't want him in his universe. And then every action you take and every story that breaks about this proves that that he was right. You personally don't like Henry Cavill. It's personal.
Yeah, it's like, I'm telling you, like, I can think of a ton of different ways you could have did this that ultimately ends
also
with
true.
You having goodwill.
They didn't pay the tributes to the true GOAT of the Superman, Smallville.
Yeah, it's like instead of doing a George Clooney thing, instead of doing that, because it's like, it's a quick ooh moment, but it's like, we already have Michael Keaton's Batman in the movie. We really didn't need that, and it only makes things more confusing going forward. Oh, a back shot of Superman in the sky. Wait a minute, that's not my Superman. And then it's like Brandon Routh or something like that. It's like, that's interesting. I would be okay with that. You get what I'm saying? I don't feel like he's another person I feel like just didn't really get a fair hand as Superman and stuff. So it's like, fans can kind of flow with that, and it doesn't feel like you're just sticking it to Henry Cavill, because it's like, that's what made this whole thing worse. It feels like you isolated him out of all the people who were a part of the Justice League. Oh, Wonder Woman can be in the movie. Ben Affleck can be in the movie. Ezra Miller can be in the movie.
Jason Momoa.
Aquaman, yeah, Jason Momoa, and it's like, but Henry Cavill, we're done. And it's like, but it's not personal.
Nicholas, they put Nicholas Cage in this movie before Henry Cavill.
They brought Christopher Reeves back for this movie.
They brought Christopher Reeves back from the dead,
Yeah.
and brought in Nicholas Cage instead of just having Henry Cavill for one scene.
You could have just showed the scene of him getting killed by Doomsday again or something. It's like I don't know. I don't know what the logic is.
We just got the really horrible CGI scene of him when he was fighting the Flash in Justice League. That's all we got. And the back of his head in a news broadcast.
It's like, respect your fans, man, and do not underestimate the value of goodwill, and definitely don't underestimate the impact of box office boycotting, because it may not cause a whole movie to flop, but it's like, is that really what you want?
It's definitely going to help. I think it's real. I don't think it's going to boycott. The people that want to boycott it are, in this particular instance, are going to be that large, but it's going to be the fact that James Gunn is the biggest name on this project, and it's going to be, and people are going to be looking at it. Okay, well, all right, you had Henry Cavill, you had a big name movie star, so you're starting over again. Okay, I don't know who this David Cornsweet guy is, but let's give it a chance. I like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. You know, I watched Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Okay, well, I'll give it a shot. But if it's not really, really good, then yeah, it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, it's like, to answer Laquan's question, I think if you didn't have boycotts starting out, it could have potentially been a $1 billion movie just off of word of mouth. Because if it's a really good movie and he looked like, when those first suit images hit the internet, that's going to kind of be able to push things in a better direction. But at this point, we've seen how unreasonable Snyderverse fans can be. So it's like, that picture can look amazing and they're still going to criticize it. They're still going to hate on it. And they're still going to demonize you as the villain of the Snyderverse. And it's like, again, those are dollars. You get what I'm saying? Those are people who would have been willing to see your movie multiple times in theaters just to see the numbers go up, just to see the gross numbers go up, which is what they do for all of these big name movies. People constantly going to see Spider-Man No Way Home is what pushed that to a $1 billion movie, versus we're not going to see that. And then, it underperformed compared to the previous movie.
No Way Home had, the big name cameos going for it, because they played into the nostalgia. They leaned into it. They're like, oh yeah, we know Tom Holland's the new Spider-Man, but hey, here's Andrew, here's Toby.
That's literally the only reason I watched that movie.
Yeah,
bro.
literally the only reason, because that movie was a bad movie. Like, half of the movie was pretty bad, but it picked up like starting around the middle. And
I would not have thought otherwise.
But that was my main interest in that movie. So
same with Doctor Strange. The cameos kind of sold it. When people found out, when we heard Professor X in that trailer, it's like, oh wow, yeah, we got to check this out. It's underwhelmed in a lot of regards, because it's like,
it wasn't a good movie.
This multiverse felt kind of tame, and I'm not going to touch on the Scarlet Witch nonsense, but it's like, at least I was legit happy when I saw Black Bolt come on screen, because I didn't get that spoiled for me going in, and I love Black Bolt. Wasn't 100% happy with his representation. He did get the show a little bit of what his powers can do, so I was happy with that. But cameos are they can be hit or miss with these movies, and they can push your movie over the top a little bit.
I mean, that's a good question, but that's not always the case. It used to be the case that TV, that if you did movies, you did movies, and if you did TV, it meant that your career went horribly wrong. but now that balance has shifted, with the golden era of television and prestige TV and eventually streaming. So it's not unusual for a TV actor anymore to do movies and vice versa. They go back and forth often, especially with streaming now. I mean, Nathan Fillion just got cast as Green Lantern in Superman Legacy, and he's pretty much just a TV sci-fi actor. So that's not really an issue anymore. In the past, it was about a measure of your star quality, because back in the time of the movie star, which is dead now, but back then it was like, okay, well, if you're going to have a movie, you need an actor that's either good, really good, which TV actors, because everyone was pushing for movies, were generally seen as lower quality, but it was like, they had to have something that could sell it, but TV actors would still get opportunities. George Clooney started out as a TV actor, so it just depends. But now it doesn't really matter, because TV streaming shows are considered in a lot of cases better and more high quality and more prestigious than a lot of movies nowadays. So it's not a real issue anymore. So it's just a matter of, at this point, casting. And when it comes to superheroes, that who you cast matters even less now, because Marvel perfected that formula of getting actors that weren't very big and still managing to turn out huge successful products, because people aren't, just like Anthony Mackie said in this interview a while ago, and still true today, people aren't coming to see Anthony Mackie, they're coming to see Falcon. They're not coming to see Chris Evans, they're coming to see Captain America. The movie star has kind of been gotten rid of by this whole superhero era.
Yeah, but I also feel like the projects they choose outside of superhero movies are pretty bland and bad. Where in the 90s, people would do all kind of genres, but it's like Tom Cruise to this day keeps proving he can do anything, or he can still be a main draw, with the exception of the Mummy movie he did a couple years ago. It's like, and that's just, the movie was bad. Like, the trailer couldn't hide the fact that the movie was bad. So it's like,
but
can't blame fans on that.
Tom Cruise is a unique case, because he's like one of the last remaining movie stars, because he understands still what it takes to be a movie star. You notice that Tom Cruise is not on Twitter acting all crazy, acting a fool. Tom Cruise understands what makes a movie star. You show, same with Keanu Reeves. When you have a movie, you show up, you do the press that you're supposed to do, you make sure it's something that the fans want to see, you do the movie, you fuck off until the next one.
Yeah, but like, look at people like Al Pacino. Like, look at the projects he's done. Look at his resume. Look at Samuel L. Jackson's resume. He's done a ton of movies that are they don't major hits.
Because they don't, but they also don't. Samuel Jackson in particular doesn't say no.
So. But as I'm saying, like, he has some clunkers on there, but it's like, at the same, like, you got Snakes on the Plane on the resume, but you also have Pulp Fiction on the resume. You know what I'm saying, Jurassic Park. You got a ton of different movies that are actually good movies that you're a part of, that your name can be a part of, versus the kind of projects that, like, after Iron Man died, Robert Downey Jr. went and did Dr. Dolittle, and it's like,
that's the other thing. That's the other thing. Robert Downey Jr. became big because of Iron Man, but it was because he was Iron Man. Like, the movie star is gone. Like, people, like, it's very different than it is in the last 10 years, because when I was growing up, you didn't go see Terminator. You went to go see the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. You went to see the Sylvester Stallone movie. You went to see the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. You went to see the Will Smith movie. It didn't matter what it was. You were seeing the Bruce Willis movie.
The movies were watchable, though. It's like, you see a trailer that makes you want to see the movie. So you want to see Men in Black. You want to see Independence Day.
Not Wild Wild West, but
right. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, they can have some wild choices, but majority of your choices have to be hits. And it's like,
but people would still come to see it, because they weren't coming to see that movie. It was a nice bonus when the movie was actually fun and watchable, and that was another part of it. Yeah, they were focused on, not necessarily with action movies, not necessarily being Oscar winning and blowing your mind, but they understood we're here to entertain, and that's what we're going to do. They didn't get bogged down by politics and all this other nonsense.
Surprisingly, I would say Chris Pratt is also an example of somebody who is, kind of negating that stigma, because it's like he has chosen good projects.
That's it.
Outside of the Marvel movies, he has Jurassic World. He just did the Mario movie. It matters what you're saying yes to.
The Jurassic movies
it's successful though. It's successful, and he was a big selling point in that Jurassic World.
I don't know about that last one.
The hype coming off of Star-Lord translated over into the Jurassic World. It's not a great movie or a good movie, but it was a big movie. And it made a lot of money.
I mean,
because he was a part of it.
Did it? What was the what?
Yeah, what Jurassic World? They made 3 movies. Those movies were successful.
I'm saying the last one, the third one. I'm not sure that one was successful.
I treat them the same way as the because I actually watched those movies. I was about to say I treat them the same as the Fast and the Furious movies, but I don't actually watch those movies.
I don't think the last one I don't think that last one actually made money either. So. Yeah, but I think Chris Pratt is definitely like kind of a legitimate movie star. It's not at the level like it was obviously back in the day, but I think, yeah, he's shown that you could still be a movie star, and you see kind of what the criteria. Obviously, you have to have the look, you have to have the charisma, some talent, but he generally chooses good projects, and he keeps to himself. The mystery is like the most underrated part of the movie star. But before there was social media, we didn't really know much about the actors. They were like, mysterious, mythical beings up in the clouds in Hollywood. We didn't know who they voted for. We didn't know their opinions on Roe v. Wade. We just knew they did movies. Maybe they do a fluff interview where they talk about their favorite ice cream, but we generally had no idea who these people were. We just knew them from their characters and their personas, and that's how we liked it. We liked the mystery of not knowing every single thought this person had in their head. But once Twitter hit, and the technology started changing, that's when the curtain got peeled back, and everyone's like, oh, they are just like us.
Like, you got some bad examples out there, but like I feel like Dave Bautista is trying to build his brand and his name in a positive light. Like The Rock is still a big name. He's trending downward. Like these past few movies have hurt his brand a little bit, but still, it's like people were seeing the movie just because The Rock was attached to it. So I don't think the idea of the movie star is actually dead. Like Seth Rogen name being attached to a project is still a selling point for a lot of people. But, like Anthony Mackie is like, you're not doing anything to actually be a legitimate movie star. Like you're not starring in blockbusters, and the blockbusters you are participating in, you're a side character. So I think
it's definitely dead. Like there's only like there's really not that many movie stars. Like how many legitimate stars can carry a project? I don't mean it's like it's a Seth Rogen.
So are we talking about stars in general, or are you?
I'm talking about
like
an actual
rising star.
I'm talking about an actual movie star. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger could take a mediocre script and put Arnold Schwarzenegger in it at his peak, and people would come see it. Yes. That's like legitimately carrying a project, and that's become increasingly rare, almost non-existent. Like even some of the old stars, like Will Smith, he doesn't have that touch anymore. The slap definitely didn't help, but
you got the wrong touch.
I feel like when he touched Chris Rock's face, that didn't help. But if you look at like the big franchises or the big stars left, it's basically Tom Cruise and Keanu Reeves. They're like the only ones left that could legitimately carry a franchise.
I feel like it just
Maybe-
depends on the project
Maybe
and
Chris
what you're asking for. Because it's like Denzel is still a top tier actor. Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio, I would still, you can still, I guess you could still consider
Like
for
you
that.
could argue that Nicolas Cage is making a comeback. Like he's making some better choices than he has been like in the past like 5 to 10 years. He's just been paying his bills for the past 10 years. And it's like now it's like, okay, well, let me be a little more selective with it.
Had to pay off that dinosaur egg, but the that's the actual thing he bought. He literally did that. But yeah, obviously it all now these days, choosing a project is more important than ever because of the amount of choices and streaming and everything, for sure.
What's his name from the Mandalorian? Pedro Pascal. A legitimate movie star. Like his name being in projects is a selling point at this point. Like I don't think he's reaching the heights, but he's on his way. Like Oscar Isaac, he's on his way. You get what I'm saying? His name being attached to projects is a selling point. Like Haley Steinfeld is on. She's having more success with big projects and stuff like that outside of something like other compared to somebody like Anthony Mackie or Chris Evans and things like that. It's like she has Bumblebee. It's not a great movie, but people liked it. People went to go see it. People liked her as Kate Bishop, but they don't only know her as Kate Bishop. I feel like more people know her as Gwen Stacy than Kate Bishop.
Did they really see Bumblebee because of Haley Steinfeld or because it was a Transformers movie?
But that's what I'm saying. She's a part of it. Anthony Mackie should be fighting to get in.
But it's a Transformers. But that's what I'm saying. It's a Transformers movie. Like Shia LaBeouf was never a movie star. People saw it because Transformers.
I feel like Tyrese shouldn't be making better movie choices than somebody like Anthony Mackie or Chris Evans. Tyrese attached himself to the Transformers franchise. He's attached to the Fast and Furious franchise. Two major box office appealing franchises. None of the Marvel people are attached to that outside of Haley Steinfeld.
Hey, who's to say Twisted Metal won't be won't be a hit?
Yeah. We'll let the public opinion decide that. But it's like, come on, bro. Like, honestly, it's like it's just it's kind of like an excuse because it's like it's more layered than that, and it's an oversimplification of why your name doesn't ring out as much as other people. Because I'm about to call him Nicolas Cage, but I mean Nicolas Fury, but Samuel L. Jackson, after the Secret Invasion, his brand might take a bit of a hit, but it's like your name is your name. You know what I'm saying? Your projects speak for themselves. Eddie Murphy can come back and do whatever right now, and that'll be a big addition to whatever project he's on. And it's all about what you're going to see. Like you can't just throw nonsense on the screen and be like, oh well, such and such is in that, and expect people to go see it. It's like, no, we're not. Especially with as many movies hitting theaters as we've seen, people are being selective with how they spend their money. So it's like I went to see Across the Spider-Verse, but now you're asking me to see The Flash, you're asking me to see Transformers, you're asking me to see the Barbie movie. And everybody can't get $10.
And a lot of people would rather stay home and watch it on streaming, for sure. So it's definitely more pressure, but also there's some. It's not that people won't watch nonsense. They will. I mean, the Fast franchise is literal nonsense, but
people will, but not a lot of people.
I mean, the last one finally hit a brick wall, but in general, like people will watch nonsense if it's fun nonsense. That's the truth. That's what really define a lot of those, 80s action, 90s action movies. They were fun. Like some of them were good, but a lot of them were just stupid fun, and they didn't bore you. Like say what you will about the Fast and the Furious franchise, especially the early ones, but they wouldn't bore you necessarily.
Yeah, but it's like I keep thinking of more and more examples. Like Chris Pine is a big name in Hollywood. Florence Pugh is making a name for herself in Hollywood. Like she's showing some really good projects.
There are people who are famous, especially online, but it's definitely not the same. Like if I'm like if I hear Florence Pugh is on a project, I'm like, oh, okay, that's not what's the project? You know, I'm not just gonna.
It's something to consider at the very least, though.
I'm not gonna watch it though. I'm gonna be like, okay, well, who's right? Okay, oh, Florence Pugh is in it. Okay, well, who's writing it? What's the plot? Who's the script? Who's directing? Who's doing the cinematography?
Being attached to it is something.
What's the budget? What's the production company?
Anthony Mackie doesn't really have that unless he's attached to Marvel as Falcon, and it's like it's like I feel like he's part of his own problem at that point.
I like 8 Mile. Like he was great in that.
Bro, no, come on. If Eminem wasn't actually in the movie, who would be watching?
He was a right. Hey, if it was just about a generic white rapper, it would still be a great movie. Come on, it was like fun.
Joaquin Phoenix. You know, that's what I'm saying. It's like there are still names out there, bro. Like if you're doing the work,
they're names. Like he's like a legacy name, but he was never a guy that would carry. Who would carry a box office. The reason why the Joker made so much money is because it was a great movie and he was great in it.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's a combination of the two. So it's like in order to make a name for yourself, you have to be attached to either well-performing projects or really good projects. So Jack Nicholson made a name for himself with very good projects, which is why he became a part of Hollywood legacy because I can name my project. I can stop working for 2 decades with ease and comfort and live off the legacy of what I've done. Bruce Willis, you get what I'm saying? It's like you have to actually appear in good movies. You can't just people only care about my Marvel projects. Look at what you do outside of Marvel. It's like what is successful outside of that? What are you doing that people would actually want to see?
So Marvel was their break. Like usually, like what happened was they would have a big break. They would have a breakout role,
right?
And then they would leverage that breakout role into other films. And if they were a big enough star, then people would just see whatever you were in, just because. And with Marvel, that took a hit because first of all, they would get a lot of cases people that weren't stars. Like they were either like they started it with Robert Downey Jr. before Iron Man. He was a talented actor, but he wasn't a star. He was considered washed up. People thought his career was over. And Chris Hemsworth, no one knew who he was before Thor. So Marvel went with unknowns. Then they had their breakout, and then for the most part, they weren't able to leverage it. Like the one star they brought in, that was Scarlett Johansson, but she was already a star before they brought her in. Chris Hemsworth so far is the one that's been able to kind of, speaking of leveraging, beyond superhero stuff, he's struck gold with this Distraction series. The first one was a surprise hit. Second one was even better. Highly recommended. So he's in a position where his non-Marvel projects are not only performing better, but actually better than the Marvel stuff.
Yeah, I would say, Robert Downey Jr. made the most money from Marvel themselves.
For sure.
Outside of Marvel, I would say Chris Pratt has probably had the most successful career outside of Marvel projects, while also having, success within Marvel itself.
Yeah, for sure.
And someone just mentioned Chadwick Boseman is like, he was on path to building himself as a name. So his name. His name rings out beyond Black Panther, beyond any Marvel projects or anything like that, because he was a part of so many big projects that people felt like they either had to see or wanted to see. Yeah. And it's like Anthony Mackie, we cannot say the same. It's like, I'm familiar with your name, but your name isn't making or breaking a movie for most people. Like you can be a part of the cast. Like, like he was in that, he played Tupac, bro. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
But here's the thing. Anthony Mackie is not a movie star.
Exactly.
He's a character actor. Like there's definitely types to this. There's certain act. He was never that. It's not about his roles or anything like that. It's like certain actors have it. They have the thing. They have the quality. Anthony Mackie was never that guy. He was never going to be that guy. Denzel was that guy from the moment he got on screen. Like it was just a matter of time. He had he had that thing.
Yeah, it's like
Jamie Foxx, he was just overwhelmingly talented. Like he had something.
You and that's what I'm saying. Like you got to do the work. So like looking at the recent Candyman movie that came out a couple years ago, imagine how much better that movie would have performed if they actually involved Tony Todd. Like brought him back as Candyman. That movie would have did numbers just off the name of Tony Todd being attached to the project. And it's like the name of a movie star can still impact a film's, how it functions or how it performs.
It can definitely get you some more eyeballs, but yeah, it's not like we used to. Like Air on Prime. I thought it was a really good movie. It had a huge cat. You had the boys back together. Ben Affleck.
I saw that in theaters. I went and checked that out.
I didn't see it in theaters. I knew I wasn't going to see it in theaters, but I was like, I'll watch it on it. I'll watch it on Amazon. But it's like, yeah, they spent way more money than they should have on that, and it didn't pan out. Even though I thought it was a good movie.
It's a good movie. It's just a weak concept. You can't make blockbuster numbers off of. Oh, this is how Michael Jordan got his shoe deal. It's like that's pretty flimsy, bro. Like I don't care what name you put in there. That's flimsy.
They went for it. Matt Damon. They usually go with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck involved, but not this time.
So. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like you can, it was well produced, well directed, well written. It just ain't. It's not a great concept to pull in a ton of people to go see that.
Yeah, because we're in a time now where to really get an audience out to the theater, it has to either be an event film or it has to somehow resonate in the culture war, because people at this point would rather stay home.
Yeah, like look at the latest Indiana Jones movie. It's a legacy movie. You brought back the central character, even though a lot of people were turned off by the installment before that one. But it's like Harrison Ford, still Hollywood royalty. New story. Big dumb action scenes and all of that stuff. I'm not big on those movies anyway. But it's like people grew up with those movies. You got nostalgia on your side, but it's a bad movie. People are saying like this was a terrible movie. This was unnecessary. It was a bad script. Yeah. So it's like,
but here's the thing. Not only was it a bad movie in terms of writing and visuals, but they didn't even play off the nostalgia. They did the thing where there's like, hey, we're going to get a legacy character to try to get people to come, and then we're going to bait and switch and actually just make it about this other character that we want to push, and just kind of put down the legacy character instead of kind of playing into it. And it's like, well, no, it's like if it's not a good movie and it's clear that you're not even going to play into the nostalgia, well, you're not going to get the word of mouth either. You're not winning either way.
Then compare that to the most recent Top Gun movie. It's like that is like 20, 30 years later, and y'all made a sequel. You brought back Tom Cruise, and you put the actual production necessary to make this a hit behind it, and it did numbers. It's like, it's projects, it's what you're doing, it's what we're putting into this project, and what are the names attached. It's like it's a combination of multiple things outside of, oh, go see this because this person is in there. Nobody went to see that Dr. Dolittle movie because Robert Downey Jr. was in it, because it's not a good movie. Like you didn't even try anything.
People definitely saw the new Mission Impossible just because Tom Cruise is in it. Let's keep it a buck. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Like that's
the Mission Impossible series.
They don't do that anymore when they're clearly still doing that.
No, because I can't say that because I said Tom Cruise was like one of the last remaining movie stars, and that proves my point.
Mario just made $1 billion.
Nobody. Yeah, that Mario made all that. Mario didn't make money because of movie stars. It made money because it's Mario. It's one of the biggest. It's one of the biggest franchises of all time. So you had the nostalgia factor. You had the built-in audience, and then they just so happened to give that audience what they wanted. It didn't matter who they cast. Like they actually didn't like the casting, but it didn't matter because it was a Mario movie that actually respected the Mario IP.
That's what I'm saying. It's like all of these movies, all of these projects that Chris Pratt is choosing.
People saw Tom Cruise. People saw
Everybody has
Mission
the same
Impossible
opportunities.
because Tom Cruise did it. No one even knows what the story of the Mission Impossible movies are. There's like 20 of them. None of them make any sense. I don't even remember what the last one was. I have no idea what happened in any of these movies anymore. But I just know, as soon as you hear dent, it's you're gonna get Tom Cruise running through hallways and jumping off of buildings and out of airplanes. You're like, okay, cool. Vin Rain is Mission Impossible. I know I'm gonna get Tom Cruise doing things. I'm gonna get Vin Rains and Simon Pegg, and I'll just go see it because obviously because it's Tom Cruise.
If you put out a respectable product and you are, respecting fans, and people's money, your name is going to ring out, especially if you do this consistently. Or you just give people something they can enjoy. So whether it's a good movie or a bad movie, if it's enjoyable and people like, oh, I'll buy this on Blu-ray after seeing it in theaters, you can find success. And it's like, you're not doing anything to make a name for yourself while denouncing the death of the movie star, while people are still thriving off of their name being attacked. Jennifer Lawrence is making a living off of her name as we speak, and it's like, I don't find her that appealing as a movie star or anything like that, but there are people who do.
I mean, her work is definitely dried up. I mean, I feel like Anna Taylor-Joy has taken the Jennifer Lawrence role and just kind of ran away with it. She's been, but that's mainly because she's been doing really good projects. They didn't make her the head of a huge franchise like the Hunger Games yet, but she's put in some work. So yeah, it's now like I said, the movie star is mostly dead. It's mainly about
it's the work. You got to do the work.
It's mainly about is more so than ever. It's about being. I mean, right now the bar is actually pretty low. Relatively, like if you just respect the fans, you can do well at this point. So it's just a matter of, but the project now matters more so than who's involved. Like it doesn't even matter. You can get complete unknowns, but if it's really good, it'll ring out.
Yeah, like look at it in the terms of gaming. So like you look at studios like Insomniac and Rocksteady, they put out quality superhero games, which is why their name is synonymous with quality superhero games. You can't do bad games and then expect your name to ring out. It's going to ring out, but it's going to ring out for bad reasons.
But gaming in particular is pretty fickle because not only does Insomniac still have ridiculous amounts of haters, but now people have just written off Rocksteady as one of the worst studios ever now because of a game that hasn't even come out yet.
But that's a pocket though. That's a pocket of the fan base where people are still, like the pre-orders for Spider-Man 2 are crazy.
Yeah, the pocket of the haters for Insomniac aren't relevant.
The hype for Wolverine is unreal.
Rocksteady, on the other hand, that does seem to be bringing out pretty wildly.
That's a suspect product, and that's not the original Rocksteady team. I don't believe. So
no, the founders literally left the project before it was even finished. So
yeah, it's like people are dumb, but people aren't that dumb. It's like. You can do some stuff. You can, get a couple over on them, but it's like, at some point they're gonna lift that wool up. Like, what's going on out here?
Yeah, there are a lot of dumb people, but consumers have definitely gotten more savvy to some degree, and aren't just accepting all the slop that's shoved in front of their face. Especially since a lot of it is just like taking them out. Like if you can just give them stuff to numb their brain, then they'll just accept it. But when the product is like bad and also doesn't give them the benefit of escapism, that's when you start getting pushback. And it's like, well, oh no, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's like, it's just like I said, I feel like you really have to be intentional with what you sign on for and how this is going to impact your brand going forward, because you don't just do one movie and then you can pick whatever project you want and it's going to be a success. That's not how it works. You have to consistently, show up. So it's like when Will Smith struck while the iron was hot, You got Men in Black, you got Wild Wild West, you got Independence Day, you got all of these movies, you know, Bad Boys. He's doing all of these projects. Yeah. Everything isn't a hit. Everything isn't the greatest thing ever, but a lot of them are. And it's like, this is why your name is ringing out. Then you get The Pursuit of Happiness and stuff like that. You get The Legend of Bagger Vance, and it's like, you have to pick quality projects, at least most of the time, to actually rank yourself up the ladder into Hollywood, you know, royalty. And it's like, I don't want to over criticize, you know, Anthony Mackie's career or nothing like that, but it's like,
sounds like you just hate Anthony Mackie personally.
It just
feels personal. Coming right at my man. Like he's just out here.
I hated his decision to play Tupac like that. I don't know who greenlit that, but it's like, that was wild. But it's like, fair. Yeah, it's like you gotta, you know, what you choose to do outside of Marvel products matter, and you can't just blame people not being interested in your projects outside of that on, oh, well, they only want to see me as Falcon, because one, a lot of people are racist and they don't even want that, especially now that you're Captain America. But, you know, two, your projects just aren't that interesting. It's like, you know, with all these options of watching movies on pirate ships and on streaming apps and stuff like that, it's like, is this worth going to pay $20, deal with, you know, nonsense in the theater with people acting a fool and coughing and, you know, all this other stuff? Is that worth it? Is Anthony Mackie's new movie worth all of that? We'll see. Most times people go say no.
We'll see when Twisted Metal makes $2 billion at the box office.
Is that even going to theaters? Because I was under the impression that was going to streaming or something. That's actually going to theaters?
I think so. Hold up.
That's tough.
Wait, is it?
You really might hate Anthony Mackie. I promise you I don't, bro. It's not personal. I'm just criticizing the take. That's all. Your career is your career.
Oh, never mind. I was going to Peacock.
Okay, I was about to say, like, that seems like that's you asking for failure, putting that in theaters.
Oh, it's not, couldn't even get it on Netflix. Holy.
Hey.
It went to Peacock. That's
yeah,
tough.
I feel like you asking for a lot of the Twisted Metal fan base on that one.
I feel like there was more interest in a Twisted Metal remake or a sequel than a TV series.
Like I enjoyed those games with the best of them, but it's like I'm not going to sit in the theater for that, especially not based on what I saw from that project so far. It's like absolutely not.
That trailer, I did remember reacting to the trailer. Now it was I do remember it's kind of sus, and I was like, well, I don't know about this one, bro. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, your boy Tom Holland, he's going to new lengths to make a name for himself outside of Spider-Man. So
yeah. His Uncharted.
Yeah. You must haven't seen what his new movie is that he's working on. I can tell by your face you didn't.
I am aware of the Zendaya meme. I'm not aware of Tom Holland's project.
He's in a new project and he made some wild choices. But
I know about the Zendaya project that people was talking about after they broke up apparently. But
they broke up?
Yeah. Apparently, they broke up, and I only know this because apparently Zendaya did a project where she was getting personal with a group or of some sort.
Yeah, I saw those.
Getting into some group activities, and people were memeing it by showing Tom Holland reacting.
And he broke up with over that. Come on, bro, you an actor. You gotta.
I don't know what. I don't know why they broke up, but I just know they were just memeing Tom Holland because of it.
Yeah, I get it. Like I said, that was a weird relationship anyway. Like I get it. Y'all did Spider-Man together. I never really bought that.
I mean, it happens. You know, actors. You know, they do a project. They do multiple projects. You know, they get. You know, especially when they're love interests. You know, sparks fly, and you know they end up flying. You know, that's the best example of that is of all time so far is probably Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You know that literally that one movie destroyed the most famous marriage in the Western world.
But even with him being Spider-Man, like he's the main star in those movies, it's just like in real life, it just feels like she's out of your league, bro. Like, it's just I just couldn't buy it. Like I'll believe y'all taking publicity photos and stuff, but I don't think she's actually getting intimate with you, bro. But
Yeah.
hopefully, for his sake, I hope they at least did.
You sound biased, but it's because he's a short king.
No,
Short
just
king
I don't know. It's like I never really bought into their chemistry like that. It's just I don't know. Maybe it's something to my eye.
Well, they seem cute together. I don't knock it. More power to you. Good.
I mean, he had more chemistry with her than what's Buddy name who does Miles Morales' voice in Across the Spider-Verse. He was trying with Haley Steinfeld. That was going nowhere. That man was dead on arrival.
I am looking forward to that Miles Morales live action though.
Are they doing that live action?
They got something. They are.
Well, let's see.
Well, it's Sony, so it's
Hey, I give Sony more credit than what a lot of people give them, because like if Marvel had this, we wouldn't even see Miles Morales in anything. Like we wouldn't have a Miles Morales right now.
Sure, but I'm hoping it's closer to the quality of the Spider-Verse and not so much or Spider-Man or Raimi Spider-Man 1 or 2 and not Morbius or Craven the Hunter.
Yeah, don't do them like that. That's like I said, it's tough. Like I said, the animation department at Sony, hats off to them. I heard they working their animators to the bone a little bit. They might need to ease up on that. But as far as like the final product, they've been killing it. And
masterpiece.
They definitely are the reason I'm glad Marvel Disney doesn't own everything, because it's like I don't want everything to be in the same vein as these Marvel Disney shows and stuff like that. Like the Netflix Disney shows, I really appreciated what those brought to the table, and those are miles better than whatever Disney has been putting out.
They're gonna have to start licensing. I thought they were going to start consider doing it again.
They should. They gotta do something, man.
I don't know. I know they might fold. I think they're supposed to combine Disney Plus with Hulu. They're definitely going to have to do something with that app. I think they're going to end up trying to combine the two, because I refuse to buy Hulu, but if they would just put anime on the American Disney Plus, I would watch Disney Plus just for the anime. But they want to lock it to overseas. So I'm stuck with Mid Invasion. I gotta come up and use a VPN just to watch anime on Disney Plus that I'm paying for.
Yeah, it's like the worst Netflix show was Iron Fist, and behind that the Defenders, but realistically both of those shows are better than what Marvel has been putting out. Arguably, the Defenders, that's a hard case to make in some regards. Like I feel like they've made better shows than that. So like Captain Falcon, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was better than that. But like Iron Fist was better. Even as bad as that show is, it's better than I would watch that.
I've definitely
way before Ms. Marvel and She-Hulk and all that stuff.
I definitely, after watching Mid Invasion, I definitely have a greater appreciation for Iron Fist. for sure. I don't know why Lloyd thinks you didn't watch Jessica Jones. I feel like everybody, every Marvel fans watch Jessica Jones.
I would say season 1 was my favorite because they had Kilgrave. Season 2 I didn't enjoy very much, and then season 3 they kind of brought it back around with the whole serial killer angle. The Trish character was a little annoying in that season, but I feel like overall it was a much stronger season than season 2.
I think that's a fair take. I enjoy. Casual Avenger is definitely a student of the game. He'll not talk about something that he's not familiar with. He's very.
If I didn't watch it, I got nothing to say. Whatever you say it is, that's what it is.
Yeah. Feels like that's a weird one to question someone watching. Like Jessica Jones was like super popular. Like that was like the peak of Marvel TV. Like Jessica Jones, Daredevil, every time Netflix popped up with a Marvel show, everyone was there.
The only thing that confused us was Iron Fist. We was like, what happened? Like,
Yeah,
that's how you could tell when they cutting corners, because they cut the corners with that. Y'all didn't pay for an actual choreographer. Y'all didn't pay to get that man some training. We cut a lot of corners, and it's like it shows. The finished product doesn't lie.
But I take that back in a second. over most of what we got for Disney Plus for sure. 100%. It's been brutal, but I mean, I can't even say I have hope. Like the only Marvel project I have hope for right now is Deadpool 3, and that's probably getting delayed to 2025 because of the strike. So I'm not.
Hopefully the delay helps them. Hopefully whenever they come back, they actually have writers available so they can tighten up that script. Because I'm worried about the script being written while during a writer's strike. Because I know somebody getting they AI chat on to fill in them gaps.
Well, I was reading up on that, and I did hear that the main production delay is from the fact that the actors are on strike and they can't film, but they pulled a James Gunn. They wrote and turned in the script before the writer's strike went live. So technically they're good on that end, but now because of the actors strike, they just can't film anything.
Yeah, that's like I said. I get it. I respect. I rock with the actors, and the writers. Get your money. I wouldn't work under those conditions. I wouldn't work, for less than what I'm worth. So
yeah,
I can't expect you to do the same, especially not because I just want to watch a movie. It's like when you do it.
It's definitely a Marvel thing because I know I've heard from a lot of different creatives that DC, for all their faults, not only do they pay residuals well, but they actually don't stiff their artists. like I've heard all sorts of stuff about Marvel just not paying people at all, or paying them super late and paying them not what they're worth, and trying to figure out ways to nickel and dime them and get out of it. It's bad. Like it's definitely a uniquely Marvel Disney thing.
Yeah, it's like getting a $400 check for writing a Disney Plus show. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's like that they spent tens of millions of dollars on. I mean, the show. I'm sure the show, and that's the other issue, because there's not enough transparency on the streaming stuff. Like if it was on network TV, you can maybe
see the numbers,
judge those metrics because it's a lot more transparent. But with streaming, we know a lot of people talked about She-Hulk on Twitter every week, but we know not many people were actually watching it, but we don't know quite the extent of it. We know it dropped off pretty rapidly, the numbers, but we don't know all the metrics, how they measure everything, and they're willing to not tell us and keep it that way. So it's like how much is this worth? How much? We know they're spending big money on these projects, but the return is not there apparently, or there's definitely some funny accounting. I feel like if they just clean up the reshoots and the mismanagement, they can save a lot of money right there and pay some of that to the writers and the actors.
Yeah, they might need to put some lawyers together and get them on that, because it's like that leaves a lot of wiggle room for just fraud, because it's like, bro, if you're not going to tell me this TV show is just doing so bad to justify $400 checks, and then we actually get the numbers and see I was due for at least 10,000. It's like, all right, I'm suing you for millions, because that's crazy.
we need some actual auditing going on, and because we saw the Amazon CEO started talking about we're going to start auditing to see how we're spending money on this product, because despite all the cap, Rings of Power did not do well. They weren't fooling anybody. They did their best, but they're not fooling anybody. That thing was a flop. So, and they spent $1 billion. They spent $1 billion on that. So they're doing some. They're not even Amazon's doing some accounting. So I know part of the problem with She-Hulk is that they had writers that didn't understand how to write CGI. So with CGI in mind, so they had to rewrite stuff. And they were like, "Oops, well, we forgot we have to do this again. So that means y'all have to take the CGI and do that." Was part of the issue. Like, you put people on a project that didn't work with a big budget show before, didn't know how to write with CGI in mind, didn't even know how to write a comedy with a comedy or a legal product. So he just was like, he's like, at the end of the day, you gotta look at the studio like, what are you doing?
It's wild, man. It's like I said, it's honestly just sad to see, and it's like you can't blame superhero fatigue for everything. And it's like honestly, superhero fatigue is coming and going because it magically goes away when good projects come out because people will still go see a good superhero movie. It just has to be a good movie.
It also doesn't help when you accuse people of being bigots or phobes because they didn't see a movie like so or a show. It's like you promote it like, oh, if you don't see this, if you're this group, because this is not for you. And then when they don't see it, it's like, why didn't you see it, bigot? it's like what are you doing? And then it magically goes away when it's a diverse when it's a diverse cast but it's actually good.
It's like you got, honestly, I just feel like Marvel's one good project for the year is going to be Guardians. I don't know how the Marvels is going to perform, but
we know how the Marvels is going to perform.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that's where boycotting and stuff comes.
It's not even going to be a boycott. It's just going to be like, we don't want this. It's not even going to be a controversy. It's just going to be like, no, we just don't want it.
And it's like, I think they honestly need to show some restraint on the turnaround between stuff coming from theaters going straight to streaming. It's like, if you can just wait like 30 days and you just watch it at home, what's the point? You wait another 30 days, you don't even have to pay for it. You just watch it on Disney Plus or one of the other streaming apps. It's like
now, and that's another side effect of the stuff underperforming, because when it's not hitting at the box office, that's when they become in a rush to try to recoup some of that by being like, okay, well, we flop. All right, this ain't hitting the box office, so let's try to get this on video on demand as soon as possible so we can make some of that money back, and then we can put it on the streaming service, hopefully get some subs off of that. That's kind of thinking. I feel like the Marvels is definitely going to be on Disney Plus within 2 months type of deal.
Bro, like I said, it's nobody's fault but their own. And like I said, DC, this is the perfect time to kind of surpass Marvel because they don't have any clear direction. You don't know what's really going on over there. There's no real excitement for a lot of their upcoming projects outside of like Deadpool. It's like you could have knocked it out of the park with The Flash and really built up anticipation for what's next in your universe.
Let's be honest. They couldn't have. The Flash was dog water.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you hyped it up like James Gunn gassed it up for no reason. It's like, come on.
There was no scenario.
Like, you could have on that.
After actually seeing that movie, there was no scenario under which that would have been a hit. Like they might as well just gave that the Batwoman treatment.
It's like Blue Beetle. Oh, he's going to be the first hero in the DCU, even though the DCU doesn't exist until Superman's movie. So he exists in a universe that doesn't exist. It's like, what are we doing over there, bro? Like you could have just threw him in the Flash for a quick cameo or something. Like do something that makes sense. Nothing about this makes sense.
I thought would have made the most sense if they were doing this would have just been like, okay, since Flashpoint is going to be rebooting everything, just make it the last movie of the year. Make Blue Beetle have Blue Beetle come out, then Aquaman, and then have the Flash close out the year.
And the only thing that carries over is Blue Beetle, and now that paves the way for Superman to come and all this other stuff. It's like it's not hard when you're actually thinking. So it's like that shows me how little thinking is actually going on over there, and it's like, why? Like, what are we doing? Like, what is going on? What has you so under the gun that you can't take a second to realize what we're doing doesn't make sense?
That's quite an understatement. The Flash went through 6 directors and 47 writers,
and it feels like it.
It looked like it.
Yeah, like.
That's the and you can't blame the writers for that. You can't, that you think that's why you're over budget. You think that's why you're losing money. Why do you need that many writers? Why do you need that many directors? Why do you need this many reshoots?
I would put you on the spot. How do you feel about Amazing Spider-Man 2?
They were all bad movies. Andrew's just a great spider. Like, that's the unfortunate thing. Like, Tobey Maguire had the best two movies. He had two great movies, one terrible one that at least was redeemed by being unintentionally funny.
Yeah.
Andrew, I thought, was the best actor. He was the best Spider-Man, but the writing was absolute dog water on all of his movies. And then Tom Holland, he didn't have a strong identity as Spider-Man because they had Robert Downey basically carry him in the first one. He kept going from father figure to father figure. He didn't really become into his own until the third one. But the movies were overall pretty good. He didn't have a single overall bad one. Like, No Way Home was half a bad movie, but the other half was amazing. I thought Homecoming was really good, but third act was kind of weak. And I thought Far From Home was just overall really good. And I feel like Far From Home is underrated. I don't know why I see people say Far From Home is bad, because to me it's just overall just good. It's not amazing, but it does have amazing moments. Like, it had a good first act, a decent second act, and a really good third act, and one of the best MCU villains. I don't really understand the hate for it. It's just weird to me.
Yeah, I think it's, his personality in that movie specifically. So it's like Spider-Man, who is a character who should be primarily about responsibility, and Far From Home is like none of that is really present in his personality. Like, this dude is breaking his neck trying to get out of responsibility, and it's like that kind of shows a disconnect between and it's like the movie could better explain that.
Because Tom Holland, it's an origin story, but it's not an origin story. Because he's still a child. Like, Toby, he had his origin story, but Toby was like 40 when he started. Andrew made him very much grown. Like, Tom Holland was supposed to be a teenager, and they very much make it clear that he is a teenager.
Yeah, but it's inconsistent writing across film. So it's like in Civil War, you allude to the fact that whatever happened around the time that he got his powers instilled him with a sense of responsibility. So when the bad things happen and you don't do anything about it, then they happen because of you. So you have a sense of responsibility towards putting on the suit, going out there trying to help people.
Yep.
And then you go into your own movie, and now your motivation is just to be an Avenger. You don't really care about helping small people as much as I want to say I'm a part of the Avengers. And then you learn a lesson by the end of the movie. Oh, I don't want to be in the Avengers anymore. Infinity War comes around. Oh, I'm an Avenger, Mr. Stark. You get what I'm saying? It's like you're whiplashing wildly across the movies, like to the point where people don't even know if you have spider sense or not.
I don't think that part is a whiplash. I think it fit well with the personality. Like, this is still very much a kid who's swept up out, and I felt they did a great job of bridging that Civil War to Homecoming, because when we see him in Civil War, yeah, he's helping Tony, but he's still Mr. Stark in Civil War. He's still cracking jokes and everything, because he's still super excited, even though this is a very serious situation, because he's a kid, and they reflect that in Homecoming. He's a kid. He's grappling with these responsibilities. He's starstruck to be involved with Tony Stark, and it's not necessarily that he wants to be an Avenger. It's that he wants Tony's approval, because Tony is like a father figure to him. So the movie is about him trying to prove himself to Tony, and him having to learn the hard way that you have to focus on just being the best version of yourself. You know, don't try to be Tony Stark. Don't try to be Iron Man. Don't try to just focus on, you know, being you and understanding that, you know, your time will come. Don't rush things. And by the end of it, he did learn that lesson the hard way by dealing with the obstacles and overcoming everything. And then we got a continuation of that, I feel like, in No Way Home to a degree, but I mean in Far From Home to a degree, but he's also that was also a movie where he was also dealing with grief, because, you know, Tony, he still had a lot to learn from Tony, and then he lost his father figure, and then here comes another one right in there to fill that void, and then he gets betrayed. So he's still
that's what I'm saying. It's like, I get all of that. It just, you know, that doesn't feel very much like Spider-Man to a lot of people who are used to like either the 90s, you know, cartoon Spider-Man, or
sure.
Spider-Man, you know, from the Tobey Maguire movies. You want Spider-Man to stand on his own, essentially, and that's never essentially what you got with Tom Holland Spider-Man
until the end. Because the issue is that the Spider-Man we often get portrayed is that this is a complete Spider-Man, whereas they just straight up said, okay, we're going to start with him as a kid, and he's going to act like a kid, and this is basically going to be him growing up, you know, in the the movies even themselves are themed like that, you know, homecoming, you know, the high school theme, you know, then far from home, and then No Way Home, where he finally, you know, becomes that Spider-Man, because he finally, you know, he loses Aunt May, and he understands the weight of proper responsibility and restraint and sacrifice. You know, that's
right. So it's like essentially you're trying to do the same thing twice, because like I said, in Civil War you alluded to that being a part of his origin, like this is why you put the suit on, but then in your own movies it's like you don't have this life lesson, so
I don't think it was that
learning this.
I don't think it was that apparent in Civil War. If in Civil War, he still felt very much like an inexperienced kid who was just kind of happy to be there.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like when he asked specifically, why are you putting on this suit, jumping in front of cars and saving people? You imply a sense of responsibility there, as if this lesson had already been learned. And then when you're watching Homecoming and Far From Home, without knowing what No Way Home is actually going to be, it feels like there's an unclear vision for this Spider-Man, and it doesn't feel anything like what you want Spider-Man or what you know Spider-Man to be, which is where a lot of the frustration came from with the character. And then No Way Home curtails it, and like, oh, well, Aunt May is going to be his Uncle Ben. That's going to be his lesson of responsibility. Yes. And then Toby and Andrew kind of shape him into that responsible, standalone Spider-Man that you get by the end. So it's like by the final product is like, okay, I see we went a different route to get to the same way or the same place. We just took a different, interesting route and stuff like that. It's interesting looking back on it, but when you're in the midst of it, it's hard to see.
Yeah, because they essentially just they're essentially just telling a coming of age story across 3, technically partially 4 movies. Like he obviously was still very much, motivated to save people, but he was also very much a kid, and I thought that was consistent across Civil War and Homecoming. Like, yeah, he's there. Yes, he goes out to save people and be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, but he's also a kid who can easily get swept up in all this stuff with, being on the same battlefield as Captain America and Black Widow and Iron Man and everything like that.
Yeah, so, and I think like I said, people are just rooted in what they want Spider-Man to be.
Yeah, because they wanted the Spider-Man Homecoming to be the end of No Way Home Spider-Man. They want because we've seen Spider-Man's origins so many times.
Yeah,
people just wanted that established Spider-Man, and Marvel wasn't interested in that. They wanted to build up their own Spider-Man over the course of a trilogy, and eventually got there. And we'll see how Spider-Man 4 goes. I have hopes for it. We'll see. We'll see if it's.
I'm with it. Like I said, No Way Home definitely built up a lot of anticipation to see where you go from here, because we're clearly on the stage to go in a completely fresh direction, but familiar. So it's like he'll feel more familiar to what you know Spider-Man to be, or that's what the expectation is. But we can go on a completely new adventure because this is a new universe. But somewhere in another universe, somebody that they got Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man in Civil War and a new trilogy with Tobey Maguire, and I got to develop some technology to get to that universe.
I'm so shocked they didn't jump right on that. Like if I like after No Way Home, I would have been at Toby and Andrew's door with a fresh contract and with a generous sign-up bonus. Like here, with TASM 3, Spider-Man 4.
Give Toby a new trilogy. Give Andrew Garfield, pair him up with Venom, and you can do your Sinister Six stuff or whatever, Morbius, Craven, do whatever you want. I honestly feel bad saying that about Andrew because it's like that's going to be terrible. Please
don't do that. Please don't do that to Andrew.
But just pay him fairly and let him do that, and whatever it is, it'll be that. But I was honestly excited about that end credit scene for Venom 2 when he saw Tom Holland on the TV and stuff, and then he got put in the universe. I'm like, I'm interested in this, and then you immediately threw him right back to his universe, and Marvel was like, but we're gonna keep a drop of that symbiote over here. So it's like you swindled Sony a little bit, and you built up hype for no reason. But it's like at least we can go somewhere interesting with it. So it's like
I'm fine with that because I'm not a fan of that Venom, especially the direction it took in Venom 2. Like I'm good on that for now.
I like Venom, their version of Venom. I feel like that's fun and interesting enough. I'm not so fond of Tom Hardy's, neurotic, version of Eddie Brock. Like I'm kind of tired of every character in every movie being that, and it's like, just no. And then it's like now we're hearing, Eddie Brock is not going to be Venom in Insomniac Spider-Man. It's like why what's wrong with Eddie Brock, bro? Like why are we getting down on Eddie Brock? First he got cast as Topher Grace, and then it's we get crazy Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, and now Eddie Brock isn't going to be the Venom. Hopefully by the end of the story, at the end credits, maybe Eddie Brock gets the symbiote suit.
Yeah, we don't know exactly how Insomniac is going to do it. They could go full Arkham Knight and be like surprise, or like my theory, they could do anti-Venom, or they can for Eddie, or they can like have him be like they can tease him becoming Venom at the end, like you said, in like a post-credit scene or something like that. There are a lot of ways they could take that.
I agree, Nava. Venom 1 was acceptable. Venom 2, you played me. You let me down with Carnage. But
they fumbled Carnage.
Yeah. It was great chilling with you tonight, bro. I gotta take a break. I am dying in this room. I'm literally suffocating.
I'm very comfortable, except I've been sitting for a while, so it's definitely a good time to wrap it up. Jay's usually peeing by now anyway, so hope everyone had a fun show. It was nice. Thanks to everyone for hanging out as usual. Hope Jay Shockblast and the wife enjoy their $1 billion cruise. It looks like a lot of fun. When he comes back, we'll schedule our special celebrity guests for when he comes back, and we'll get to that. And next we'll see if he's back by next week, because we're going to have a lot to talk about with Comic-Con going down on Thursday, at least the Comic-Con event that everyone cares about going down on Thursday. the rest probably we might get some surprises, so I'll keep an eye out. We'll be covering it. So be on lookout for that, and be on lookout for Casual Avengers eventual return to YouTube whenever he's going to be. I hear a rumor that he's going to be doing deep dish essays.
I'm still working on that. Like I said, this scheduling stuff is tough. Every time I feel like I got something figured out, I get thrown the curveball. So
wherever it is, we'll support you. Appreciate everyone. Jay Shockblast isn't here, but we'll still do the thing. I'm Sadat the Gamer.
Casual Avenger.
I'm Jay Shockblast. Zip it up and zip it out. Peace.
Ew, fool.